forever young? Or am I faking on the tip of my tongue? There's a sarcasm waiting for you. I'm willing to trade my soul for a bit of your charm. There's no way I fade into oblivion, 'cause I'll keep shining over you all. And if your wings entwining, you better face the fall, keep trying again. Oh yeah, keep trying again. There's mud on the floor, disparate people trying to get through the door, although the room's already crowded. But I'll keep shining over you all. And if your wings entwining, you better face the fall, keep trying again. Oh yeah, keep trying again. Zeros, everybody's trying to be heroes, when all they have to say to be okay is I don't know. And keep trying again. I'll keep shining over you all. With your wings entwining, you better face the fall. Zero, everybody's trying to be heroes, when all they have to say to be okay is I don't know. Are you okay? I'm not that sure. Forever young, or am I faking on the tip of my tongue? There's a sarcasm waiting for you. I'm willing to trade my soul for a bit of your charm. There's no way I fade into oblivion, 'cause I'll keep shining over you all. And if your wings entwining, you better face the fall, keep trying again. Oh yeah, keep trying again. There's mud on the floor, disparate people trying to get through the door, although the room's already crowded. But I'll keep shining over you all. And if your wings entwining, you better face the fall, keep trying again. Oh yeah, keep trying again. Zeros, everybody's trying to be heroes, when all they have to say to be okay is I don't know. And keep trying again.
Hey, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome here to race number 14 of season 52 of the RTG Aero 88 series, as we're here tonight for the penultimate race of the season, a track that from 2002 to 2019 played host to the finale in NASCAR's Cup Series, but tonight it sets the stage for the finale with the Aero 88 cars. I'm Seth Cole, alongside of Jessica Shelton, and Jess, you took the opportunity to put some laps down here tonight. What's some of the things these drivers are going to have to worry about in this 121 lapper?
Well, after a while, it feels really, really tight, Seth. It wants to push up. As the run goes on, tires start wearing, but it's not like one of those big falloffs that we're used to, commonplace or anything. But, as long as it starts getting tighter and tighter and tighter, it looks like the trouble spot may end up being off of 4 or off of 2, because when you whip up there, you have to jerk the wheel to the left to make sure you don't hit that wall. I hit the wall just a little bit a couple of times. Not enough damage to actually, register as realistic damage here, but still, that's something we got to watch out for, especially when they go side by side and 3 wide.
And of course, here tonight as well, the championship is basically decided. Robert Balcom tonight, I would say, easily clinches the championship with at least a top 20 finish, since he has a 42-point advantage over Jeremy Jeffries coming into tonight's event. That kind of opens the door, though, for everybody to be a little bit more aggressive, try and see if they can finish out the season with a victory.
Absolutely. I mean, you got a really great roster here, and based on qualifying, Chris Emery has the pole. Chris Elliott starting second. Zach Bremo, our colleague for FRN, he's up there in third. Andre Marjan and Ronald Luzier, those guys, they all have a shot to actually do something and get a win. I mean, all Robert has to do is just relax, take his time. We expect him to be in the top 10, top 5 after a while, so he just needs to ride and stay out of trouble, Seth.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch Robert Balcom, because he actually did not even put down a lap time. He'll be starting at the rear of the field. So it'll be interesting to watch his early strategy, if it is just kind of ride and wait, or if he's going to set himself a challenge and see how quickly he can cut his way through the field. He gave the top 5. JP Thibodeau is going to line up on the outside of row 3 with Dante Ricky and Andre Rieume in row 4. Matt Watkins and Dave Melson will complete the top 10. Second in points, Jeremy Jeffries rolls off from 11th with Orlando LeBoy in 12th. Jeff Supta and Terry Bombard will make up row 7. Row 8 finds Frank Rivard and Sean Kerrigan, Jack DeSalt, John Godfrey in row 9, and Jim Glaude, who picked up a victory a couple of weeks ago. He's going to line up on the inside of row 10 alongside of Randy Waugh. Chuck McClure and Bob Seminaire, they'll be in row 11. Row 12 with Bob Dixon and Andre Charest. Row 13 finds Jerm Lewis and Robbie Nisus. They were the last drivers to take time. 27th will be Bob LeChance Balcom, who we mentioned, going to be starting back in the 28th position with Brian Wolf in the 29th, last car in the field here this evening. Mentioned it was 121 laps here tonight, Jess. You talked about pre-broadcast that these drivers have a limited number of sets of tires. It's going to be a bit of an endurance race for these drivers here tonight.
Yeah, 121 laps. That's quite a bit. I mean, we can make it about, from what I was talking with Dante Ricky a little earlier, and I was on track as well. Did a stint of 22, and then I think 24, maybe 25 laps, 26 laps, something like that for my second stint, and probably roughly looking at 30, 32 laps max. I mean, they should be able to make it easily on tires the whole way through, but still, when they come into pit road, those tires will be roughly around 60, 70, 75%, depending on how hard they push it.
Chris Emery gaining his second pole of the season. Of course, a former winner this year as well, winning earlier on at the Monster Mile of Dover. You were talking about those names up there in the top 5 with good starting track position. We know that the Aero 88 mod runs with the CTS physics, so there's going to be draft that comes into play. Is track position, do you think, going to be a key factor here tonight, or is there a chance for drivers mid-pack, rear of the field, to be able to slowly, methodically work their way to the front?
There is a chance always, Seth, in any race that you go to. But at the same time, this race, talking with Dante a little bit earlier, like I was saying, it has the, trend of settle into a long green flag run, and then it's 5, a little bit ways back, 5, a little bit ways back, 5. Track position will be key if they make it to the first round of green flag pit stops. But I do want to point out, Seth, that while I'm watching Chuck McClure here in the 17, coming off pit road. Remember, this racetrack, this version, access road entering and exiting.
Yeah, that's going to maybe be the deciding factor, possibly, in tonight's event, is the fact these drivers will have to use the access road leaving pit road that you saw them use when they came off the grid, and that access road there to their left, entering from turn 3 over to the exit of turn 4. They'll have to use that when they make green flag pit stops. Of course, as well, we already talked about it. Another factor in this race is realistic damage. I mean, something says to me, if you end up getting involved in a wreck and you've got yourself even a little bit of damage, you're going to be off the speed in terms of the straightaway. But here we go. 121 laps here tonight at Homestead Miami Speedway, and that bright yellow 222 of Chris Emery gets us underway.
2 by 2 all the way back south. It looks like Chris Emery's going to break away for the moment. They're all really minor P's and Q's at the start of this. I kind of expected someone to really dive it hard in turn 1 to try to gain position, but they're all racing single, back here at the back. They're not really forcing the issue yet, which is understandable, especially this early on side.
Inside line got going the best. Zach Freemount following in the tire tracks. Oh, we got another spin.
Godfrey.
Is that Andre Rayum off of turn 4 as well?
Godfrey, Bob Dixon, Randy Waugh, all involved back here.
We just had 2 different wrecks take place. Your wreck over there in turns 3 and 4, and then off of turn 4 on the front straightaway, the 63 of Andre Rayum spun around and got hit by a driver. So 2 separate incidents right there on the first lap of this race. Go back and see first what happened with the incident that actually brought out the caution.
Was not expecting that stuff. They looked like they got off really nice, and I thought we were about to have a good little bit of a, settle in, but wow.
Yeah, Godfrey in the 7-11, I believe, is the one that this first incident starts with. He's running behind the 15 of Sean Kerrigan. Oh, Randy Waugh just never slowed down. Ran to the back of the 7-11, and then Randy Waugh further up, we'll be seeing, he actually then turns down and gets into the side of, I think that's the 143 of Bob Dixon.
Yeah, it looks like the 21 got a little bit too much speed in there. Maybe Godfrey backed off a little bit in the corner, and that's what caused that whole issue to start, possibly, Seth. I mean, you and I have raced Homestead quite often in the past, so, I mean, it might be the fact of people letting off at certain points.
They were very stacked up there on that outside line. Godfrey was having to check up to make sure he didn't run in the back of Sean Kerrigan, and I'm actually just was looking briefly midway down the back straightaway. The 15 was on the back bumper of the I was just looking up Sean Kerrigan, the 15, and he had Godfrey right behind him. Randy Waugh had about half a car length between himself and Godfrey, so there was a huge amount of closing right there. We're now going to look and see what happened to Andre Rayum. Now, the caution was already out at this point for the incident over in turn 3, and then Andre Rayum's going to crowd Jeremy Jeffries down a bit. Jeffries gets the apron and slides up into the 63, who then takes a shot from the 10 of Terry Bombard.
Yeah, during practice, you come off the 4, the car really wants to go down there and actually hit a little bit of that apron coming off the 4. I mean, I'm not sure why it's doing that. I mean, I hardly had any steering assistance on for that, so it might just be either the way the track is or the entry of pit road, like the the pit road pull possibly.
There are 2 tracks that I can recall that have a similar type of sensation, because I do drive with the driving assist. And there is another Homestead out there, 2013, that actually pulls you down to the apron off of turn 4. Chicagoland is a Chicagoland out there that does the same. So I think you're right. I think that's exactly what happened to Jeremy Jeffries. Maybe not necessarily going down there of his own accord, kind of getting forced down there.
Well, also Dover will want to pull you off of 4 as well, remember?
Oh, yep.
But anyway, getting back to the discussion here. I mean, lap 4 under caution pacing right now, Seth. I mean, I don't think we're going to see a lot of the front runners come in. Maybe some people in the back might come in to top off a little bit further. I mean, not enough wear on your tires to really be concerned at this point.
I think 4 drivers came down pit road. Nope, correction, 5 drivers came down pit road to top off the fuel tank.
We had 2 to retire Randy Watt and Godfrey both retired. Their damage was, I guess, really beyond repair in their aspect. I know Godfrey was damaged, so I didn't see too much damage on Randy Watt, though.
Well, he had damage after the follow-up contact with Bob Dixon. Went up pretty hard to the outside wall. Dixon, I think, came down pit road for repairs on his 143. And then those drivers you talked about that were towards the tail end of the field to top off, Bob Seminara, Robert Balcom, Brian Wolf, and Robbie Nices. So they'll start towards the rear as these guys got doubled up. Looks like we're going to have an extra lap of caution here. I think they were about to go green. And so now we'll have an extra lap here with Emery and Zach Freemel the front row, Chris Elliott, Ronald Lucet in row 2, and then Andre Mahjong right now completing the top 5. But, you know, you talked about the possibility of this race being calm at the beginning. Tough break there for both Randy Watt and John Godfrey, not even 3 laps in and already out of this race.
Yeah, and you hate to see something like that happen. I mean, Dante was talking about how this track goes into a long run, and you know they end up breaking up and splitting up apart and everything, and to be taken out or having to retire, you know, that early, Seth, you don't want to see anyone get out of the race that early, and you definitely don't want to be the one to get out of the race early, especially when you're having a nice run. I mean, yeah, you're way in the back, but you have plenty of time to go up there.
Obviously, there was like communication problem in terms of knowing a driver's braking zone involving that caution, but you kind of have to wonder if now that's going to have these drivers think about the fact, well, 2 drivers didn't even make it past lap 5. Let's settle into a long green flag run. Let's have a little bit more give than take here in the early stages.
Well, I mean, hopefully now that they got that out of their system, hopefully we'll see actually a little bit more calmer and relaxed start in here. Like I said, we got to watch out the corners because, you know, there's a problem off of 4 that we just saw. And like I said, there's 4 and 2 where you get really close to the wall. But pace car's going to make that hard left to pit road, and we're about to go back to green flag racing and start lap 6, Seth.
Pole sitter Chris Emery going to bring them down at 55 miles per hour. Green flag waves. Back up through the gears they go. Zach Freemel got himself a decent jump. Actually edged ahead of Chris Emery at the start-finish line. We'll see what he can do in the second lane going into turn 1.
Side by side all the way back, Seth, behind Chris Emery. Chris Emery looks like he's going to break free and start pulling away a little bit right now. I mean, we saw this last time, but what I'm wondering, Seth, is with them all racing so hard for position back to back, I mean, oh, we got one on the apron in front of Robert Balcom back here. Who is it? It was the 616 of Jerem Lewis. That caused a huge checkup back here, so caution is out.
Caution out for the second time here tonight as Andre Rioum with another issue, this time off of turn 4, and it looks like Bob Seminara may have gotten a piece of this one.
That was, that really, I honestly, in my opinion, it was because of whatever issue Jerem Lewis had in the 616, that when he started to check up, everyone kind of started bunching up. And
we're going to
we
see
knew the
it.
point.
We're going to follow the 63 of Andre Rioum, but watch the bottom right of your screen. You're going to see the black 616 of Jerem Lewis out of shape. And you're exactly right. I think it was just the reaction to the fact they thought maybe the 616 was coming back up the track. Oh, Andre actually got a little loose there as he was trying to get on the brakes. Almost got up into Bob Dixon, then came down and got the hit from behind by Bob Seminara.
You think it was a delayed reaction, sir?
I think it was, and I'm trying to figure out here if the 63 got loose and then overcorrected, or if he was wondering if the 616 was going to spin back up the racetrack, because that was a bit of a jerky movement there back to the right for the 63 car. We'll take a look at it again, and right there, he gets on the brakes, and the car just turns to the right on him.
I'm not gonna lie, when I saw Jerem get on the apron and get sideways, I actually thought the back end was going to come straight up the track.
That might have been maybe why the 63 was turning to the right there, just in case Jerem Lewis was not able to gather it up. Nice save there by Jerem Lewis, though, as he was able to keep the thing going on the apron. And credit to Robert Balcom, as we saw there, too, getting on the brakes and allowing Jerem Lewis to be able to gather that machine back up. But in terms of the contact sustained, doesn't look like it was that much heavy contact between Bob Seminara and the 63 of Andre Rieu, and then a little bit of front-end contact for Robbie Nices, but I think they're all going to be okay. I mean, based off of the hits we saw in the first caution, this was very minimal contact.
Absolutely. And speaking of Andre Rieu, makes me think about the French Canadians that are, racing on. Just want to give a quick shout out. I'm not sure stuff I keep forgetting if it's Challenger or Charger. I have that problem with this, but I believe it's the Charger series that are off this week, so?
Yes.
Yeah, the Charger series are off this week. They'll return next week at Michigan for the finale, and in that race you have the 51 of Bob LaChance, the 35 of Frank Rivard, and the 62 of Ron Luzier battling for that championship that they're having, like, over there. And I believe Jack DeSalt in the 36 has won and clinched the Challenger championship as well.
Yeah, came into this race 46 points ahead of Andre Charest. And so, yeah, Jack DeSalt's going to be the Challenger Series winner here for the Aero 88s. Right now, DeSalt running on the lead lap in the 13th position, has kept his nose clean here in the first 10 laps. And, you talk about the French Canadians. I mean, it's been a little bit of everybody that has gone to victory lane here this season, including Ronald Lucier and Andre Mahjong.
Yeah, Ronald Luzier, he's not someone you want to discount. I mean, we've seen what he's been able to do with the battling that he had with Dante Ricky over last season. Remember that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've had Jeff Supta. He's won the most races this season with 4. Robert Baucom, the eventual champion, with 3. But as I mentioned, Lucier and Andre Mahjong, they've got a win apiece. Jeremy Jeffries, Jim Glaude, Chuck McClure, and Chris Emery have all been to victory lane this season.
Robert Baucom made a little pit stop as well. He's coming out, along with a couple of cars behind him. When we get back going green, Seth, we got another caution lap, I'd imagine. I think it's one more lap of caution, probably. And we probably will get going back on lap 12. Some of these guys back here, Seth. I mean, Robert Baucom can go a little bit further on fuel at this moment. Given how this is shaping up, would you specifically come in or would you stay out? If you were, if you're in the back, you got nothing to lose, come on in.
Yeah.
But what about these guys in the middle of the pack or the front? I mean, you think track position is just too important right now for them?
Well, based off of something you and I were talking about with the test laps you put down earlier on in the practice session, I think track position is everything, because I think that for most of these drivers here tonight, it's going to be fuel over tires. I mean, you were talking about being able to hold pace with a driver out there on fresher tires, so I think that these drivers, they're not going to want to put themselves back there in traffic, especially with what we've been seeing here in the early stage. I mean, we've seen double wide and almost 3 wide with drivers stacking up over in turn 3. So if you're able to be up here, get yourself single filed out quickly and get yourself into a little bit of a safety zone in the first half of this race, absolutely keep that track position.
And you say that I kept pace. I still lost time. I mean, barely, but I was still losing stuff.
Hey, old tires to fresh tires, though. The relative, that's what I'm going off of.
Yeah, by like 6 laps. But anyway, caution lights, I believe, are out. We will be going back to green at the start of lap 12. Bob Simonaire is coming off pit road right now. And let's see, Seth. It looks like Chris Emery is still holding serve up there with Zach Freeman at the front row at this point. So it seems like Chris Emery just seems to get one of those really good restarts where he can gather it up real quickly and just pull away to have everyone else battling behind him.
Yeah, we really haven't gotten an opportunity to go into a long enough run to know if that second line is viable to be able to make passes. What we do know is that the short way around the racetrack in the lower gears is the way to go, because Zach Fremont was unable to get the race lead despite a great restart last time from Chris Emery, and we'll see if he's going to be able to do something here, but he dropped back to second when we got into turn 2, and he's going to be alongside of Emery again this time. We'll see if he's going to be able to mount a charge, if he learned something from the last restart, but looks like he's losing ground once more.
Side by side. Oh, Jordan Lewis. Oh, there goes Jordan Lewis off of turn 2, Seth. Got really, really high up there and tried to save it. Dark right back down, and the back end just came right around on him.
Everybody scatters to avoid him as the caution will fly for the 3rd time here tonight. And I guess the good thing was it was off of a corner, so drivers had that spacious back straightaway to be able to avoid him.
Yeah, I mean, at least we weren't like all together in the pack full speed or anything. We were still getting up through the gears, which is a really good thing because if anyone did hit him at all, it probably wouldn't have been that significant, like a lot of damage this time.
Well, the pace car driver has been busy here tonight. I think he might have led the most laps so far this evening up to this point, as he will come out and pace them again for a third period of caution. We'll go back and take a look at what happened to Jerm Lewis here. And, that's one thing that I kind of didn't really take into account here tonight, just based off of the fact that a lot of times these drivers with the CTS physics aren't starved for grip, but we're seeing a lot of drivers get out of shape here this evening, having that loose sensation off of the corner. And Jerm Lewis, the latest of those here, as he kind of pushed up the track there in turn two.
To me, it looks like do you think he overdrove the corner
He
going
might
in
have.
a little bit? It looks like it was.
Maybe he got on the brakes a little bit and the car got light because he was sliding up the track into, was it the 51?
No. There wasn't any hitting of the brake from what I'm looking at. So it looked like he was getting through the gears just fine. He got up to fourth gear and 150, and then the back he got a little bit loose, and then the back end just comes right around. A little bit of a twist on it, just a little twist. And I'm just amazed how Sucho didn't get collected in that in the 11.
Yeah, he had a close call there for sure. There you just see the thing steps around on him, and it's not one of those cases of the back end snapping really quick. It was a very gradual spin.
Now, I'm wondering, did he pit the last time? Because remember, when he got on the apron earlier on, that might have worn his tires out just a little bit.
I believe he restarted this race from the 18th position, so I think the answer to your question would be no. I think he stayed out.
That might have, he might have had a little bit of worn tires or something regarding the previous spin that he almost had. Because when you get on that apron, the first thing you want to do is hit the brakes. So it's an automatic reaction is to hit the brakes. And if he had done that at that point, he might have had a little bit of wear in the brakes and going down there a little bit hard like he was, that might have caused it to snap loose.
A good call. Didn't even think about that. I think he has come to pit road this time now.
Yes.
And I wonder if he'll actually be having to take on tires as well. I mean, you got to wonder if sliding those rears as much as he did on not only this latest caution, but over there in turn 4, prior to the second caution of the evening, if he would actually be forced to have to take on one of those sets early.
Brian Wolf is down along with Robert Balcom and Robbie Nices. But yeah, let's talk about Robbie Nices for a moment. According to what I got from information from Dante Ricky, quote-unquote sponsorship from this race is from Robbie, and it's called the Fun in 21, apparently. Seth, interesting name.
Yeah, running a special scheme here tonight as well. I don't really know the backstory, but happy 10th birthday to Cole on his number 54 here this evening.
Baker? Beaver?
That was the first two things that jumped to my mind.
Or Seth Cole.
Downloaded his car from the file manager and saw my last name in there and thought, that's interesting. I'm not racing tonight.
Are you sure you're not? Are you sure this isn't like an alternate reality?
I'm the pace car driver. I've led the most laps tonight.
Okay, James Shelley, calm down.
Lights are still on the pace car. Looking back here through the running order, and as I said, there's drivers here tonight with the championship basically decided that are just trying to end the season out with a win. I think there's a driver in the field that's just trying to end on a high note, and that'd be 13th place running Sean Kerrigan. So far this season, in 13 races, he has had 9 finishes behind the wall. So I think that if he could at least finish here tonight and maybe salvage a top 10, that would be a great performance for that number 15 Skull car.
Absolutely. I mean, if you get a top 10, top 15 after having such bad luck race after race, you almost feel like you're a top 5 or a winner automatically. That momentum can increase your chances to, carry over to do better and then better, then you get on to a little streak. Seth, we've seen that happen for a lot of drivers. One thing goes good and it just keeps going and going and going.
The morale booster, no doubt about that. Well, over on iRacing, you're normally not able to tell if a driver is clutching, but over here on the NR sim, it's a dead giveaway when you see the car, the back end pop into the air and the front end bottom down into the racetrack. These drivers are clutching here, Jess, so, you know, they're trying to stretch it for all it's worth, so who knows? It's
I don't
121 laps, it's a marathon. We might be looking at a fuel strategy race, who knows?
I don't see Grant Wesley in this field. Where's Grant? I can't find him.
Oh man, yeah, Grant's the one you can't tell if he's clutching, right?
Yeah.
He's got that reserve tank.
Well, 16 are in the books. Coming to lap 17, we're going to get the green flag. They're coming off of 4 right now. Pace car's going to pull off, and Chris Emery, Zach Freeman, front row. Try it again, Seth.
See if we can get into a long green flag run. We've worked 3 cautions in the first 15 laps as the green flag flies one more time.
Freeman with a good start like that. He got a huge run. He's about a half a car length ahead of Emery. Now Emery's going to pull right back. I don't know if Zach Freeman is going to be able to hold it this time, Seth, because Chris Elliott's right there on his inside knocking at the door for second.
Freeman's been really good on the last 3 restarts. He just hasn't been able to stay alongside of Chris Emery through 1 and 2, and now you're right, he will lose second place. It looks like to Chris Elliott, who runs really low off of 4.
Oh, wow, back here, Seth, they are all jammed. I mean, they're going, and then they go in these corners, and then they have to back off, and you see cars sliding up, and a few others have to back off to give each other room. So far, so good this run.
There's 4-time winner Jeff Supta. He's now back in the 20th position, trying to make his way around the wounded car of Andre Rayum. A little bit further up is where you find Andre Charest and Sean Kerrigan. Ooh, that was a little close to the center of 3 and 4 between those drivers, and it's really looking like, surprisingly, early on, you would think that into a longer run, of course, the right front tire would heat up, but it's looking like even on cool tires, drivers on the inside line are really having to deal with a push-tight sensation in the middle of turns 3 and 4.
Absolutely. I mean, if you go too low, that apron will come out and grab you. I mean, we saw it happen a little earlier on that first caution. Remember that? Off of 4. I mean, you got to really be careful how low you get off of 4, but you can't go too high up off of 4, otherwise that wall will get you, and then you got to worry about someone on your inside. Freeman finally clears Chris Elliott for second place, Seth. I mean, now, Emery's kind of trying to pull away. He's not really gone to the point. Freeman still has him in his eyesight.
And this battle for 4th place has been good. It was almost 3 wide on the front straightaway a lap ago. Dante Ricky, 3rd in points, looking back at Andre Mahjong and Ronald Lucet. We've also got Dave Melson back in that mix. Jeremy Jeffries is there, and I believe that's Matt Watkins in the 20 up on the top side there with Mario on the hood.
Matt Watkins does not deserve to have Mario on the hood when he had Tetris.
I'm trying to figure out where Andrew Miller is. The two of them had a little bit of a running joke here in the Aero 88 series where Matt Watkins was running the Mario car and Andrew Miller was running the Sonic car, but no Miller in the field here tonight. Of course, a former pole sitter, Andrew Miller, here in the Aero 88 series. Battle for 4th has now settled out, and it's pretty settled out in the entire top 10.
I'm just going to say my feelings are hurt that Matt has decided to get rid of Tetris just to run Mario.
I know. We need the Tetris card back just for old time's sake.
Puzzle pieces.
I don't know if this is a Bobby Labonte or a Sterling Marlin throwback, because I know they were both sponsored by Maxwell House on the 36 of Jack DeSault, but he's going to pick up 14th place.
I do know, it looks like Ricky is running the Snickers throwback. I believe that's for Jeff Burton or Hut Strickland, one of the two.
I think it's Hut Strickland. I think you're right.
Now you said who was running throwback?
36. I mean, I know that Bobby Labonte drove with Maxwell House, and I know Sterling Marlin drove with Maxwell House, but I don't know exactly which one that would be throwing back to.
Well, there are 2 differences. One's a Pontiac, one's a Ford.
Well, I know that. But which one is he?
I think one had a gold stripe and the other one did not.
Oh, okay.
I think one had a gold stripe and the other one had a white stripe.
All right there, Chris Elliott had to bail out of the throttle when he was on the inside of Chris Emery for second place, and that lost him 3rd as well Dante Ricky able to swing around for the spot. 5th place under contest with Dave Melson pushing up almost into the driver's side door of Andre Mahjong.
I want to point out something off topic for a second, Seth, since they're running pretty much single file except for near the front here. Robert Balcom, I saw him earlier. He moved down low, backed off, and he's running his own race, just relaxing. This is really uncharacteristic of Robert to run back there, but I mean, I guess he's playing the better safe than sorry. Let these guys run themselves out, and then just capitalize like he's done in the past, probably.
Well, he might also be of the same mentality that we are, that drivers now, knowing that the championship is basically decided, that the floodgates are open to try and go up there and pick up a victory, so you're going to be a little bit more aggressive now, and Robert Balcom not wanting to use up his stuff or run the risk of possibly getting involved in a wreck, kind of just saying, all right, have at it, I'll be back here.
I mean, that's a really good strategy by Robert Balcom, just to relax and ride. I mean, we got a long way to go. We got about less than 100 laps, just under the 100 lap mark now, Seth. And Chuck McClure is starting to make his way forward, running on the high side, passing Andre Terrace. And now he's going to work on Jack Basalt.
Watching this battle here for 5th place between Dave Melson and Andre Mahjong. Melson finally going to be able to complete the pass. It really was dealing with that tight sensation underneath the 27 for the last couple laps or so. Now Ronald Lucet going to go to the inside of the 27. And one thing that I am noticing here, obviously the outside line is not the line to be in. You're going to get freight trained, but as opposed to most tracks, they're not falling to the back as quickly as you would expect. They're being able to at least hold position for about a lap before losing the spot.
Yeah, and bringing back up Chuck McClure, I've seen him now pass several cars on the high side. You know, I'm wondering if Chuck's found something up there. It seems like they got like this little bit of a run here. I mean, JP Thibodeau's up here, but right behind him, McClure, and in front of him there was a couple of drivers, Orlando Labby and Frank Rivard. There was a point where Andre Mahjong was running the high side. They were on a line up here, Seth. So maybe Chuck has found something that works. And up near the front, we didn't see it, but there is a lead change. Zach Freeman to the lead, Chris Emery second, and Dante Ricky is now in third.
Now trying to hunt down the 222 for that second position is Dante Ricky, as Emery drove it really deep there into turn 1, trying to get back to the bumper of Zach Freeman. And to your point of those drivers running up there on the top side, just about everybody has now got it where their left sides are on the dark gray. And I can only assume they're up there for 2 reasons. Number 1, I think you could probably carry more speed through the corner and avoid that tight sensation. Number 2, they're probably wanting to get away from the possibility of touching the apron off of turn 4.
Well, I don't know how big of a deal it is here because I didn't test it out. But remember, we've had in the past some tracks that we've gone to and we've commentated on and vice versa where you run the high side, you can save a little bit of tire and get that tire to cool down, and you can actually gas it and actually use it up a little bit, then back off and go up to the high side, let it cool back down, and then do it again.
Dave Melson now trying to get a run on Chris Elliott. You know, I keep watching as they come through 3 and 4, that apron down there, that access road leading to pit lane. I can't help but think, too, I mean, you know, we end up broadcasting.
Whoa, 3 wide. Okay,
and that was Terry Bombard that was in the middle of that one. JP Thibodeau and Sean Carey.
Sorry, Seth.
No, good call there. That's a heart-stopping moment when we see the trouble they're having with double wide, and then they take it 3 abreast. They settle it out for the time being. But going back to what I was going to say, you know, with that access road that they're going to have to use for green flag pit stops, you know, you have Talladega that we broadcast on Thursday nights here for RTG, and there's about, 150 feet of difference that you can make up time in. If you've got this long access road, there's a lot of time and positions that can be gained and lost during green flag pit stops here.
Yeah, but this one, though, this pit entry on this access road stuff, is very, very, very touchy. I mean, if you get just a little bit to the high side, over to the low side, you get in that grass, you're around that back end, there's nothing there. There's nothing there.
Yeah, there's no grip in that grass whatsoever, as battle now for the 13th position, I believe this is. Nope, sorry, 12th. Jack Dassault getting around Andre Mahjong. Little side to side there for the 27, but looks like they're giving him enough room. Up at the front, the battle right now is Zach Freeman to the outside of Dante Ricky because he just lost the lead with Emery and Ricky moving to first and second.
And don't look now, but look who's behind Zach Freeman. How many times in the past in different series have we seen that 38 of Dave Nelson be stalking somewhere right around there? And we've seen Dave Nelson always get near the front and lead a lap or two, and then sometimes we've seen him dominate as well. I mean, guess what? He's right back in the thick of things.
Dave Melson, 7 top 10s on the season, 7th in the point stands as well, but still first, chasing his first win this season in the Aero 88 series as he'll get alongside of Zach Freeman. And I have to wonder if maybe we're starting to see the fallout from the 6 when Freeman was putting the big charge on Chris Emery to take the race lead, if maybe he used up his stuff a little too early, and that kind of had him as a sitting duck for the now top 2.
Yeah, I know. I noticed that when I was battling, trying to run down Jeff Supta in practice set. And we have someone hitting pit road. I think it's Andre Mahjong hitting pit road. I think it was a generic car on my end side.
See if we can find out. Yes, it is indeed the 27 of Andre Mahjong, who was 14th last time by, and he is coming to pit road. I'm guessing this is going to begin the cycle of green flag pit stops, as the 27 has not been to pit road since the drop of the green flag to start this race.
But going back to what I was saying, when I was running around with Supta passed me, and I was pushing it really hard to gain back on him. You know, I was able to keep serve for a little bit, but I noticed that through time, I kept pushing up, getting tighter and tighter, and the tire wear was starting to come into play just a little bit. So maybe that's what these guys are starting to experience a little bit of now.
Also wondering, and I'm not necessarily certain that this was the case, but I'm wondering if Zach Freeman went out in front, make sure he got himself a bonus point for a lap led, and then kind of realized, I'm the lead car. It's CTS physics. I'm cutting the draft. Let me actually now drop back, get into the draft, and do a little bit of fuel saving here.
Well, that could be the case as well, because you can go a little bit further. Remember, it's fuel over everything else. As we see Chris Elliott on the high side here, Jeremy Jeffries got by him, and Ronald Luzier now coming into play. And then there's the 20 car of Matt Watkins and the Mario machine that we were alluding to earlier. It seems like when you get stuck on the high side, sometimes you can get that run, but it doesn't look like it's working out too much for most of these drivers when they get caught up there, Seth.
Yeah, you get a run from the center of the corner off, but you really lose a lot of time from the entrance into the center of the corner if you're stuck on that outside line. Kind of case in point with what we saw as Zach Freeman when he was on the outside of the front row for those previous 3 restarts. Dave Melson had a near moment with Zach Freeman on the last lap here on the back straightaway. The two of them making a little contact. He backed off. Now he's going to try and reel the 6 car back in for the 3rd position, and he's bringing that DoorDash car of Jeremy Jeffries along with him.
And we know if anything happens to Robert, I mean, I don't know. I don't think there's really anything Jeremy can do. I mean, didn't we say that Robert had to finish 20th or better to clinch the title?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, the most a driver can get in a race is 48 points. That's with winning, leading a lap, and leading the most laps. The gap right now from first back to second, as we mentioned, is 42 points. Oh boy, that's the pole sitter coming down pit road there, Chris Emery. And I think that was Zach Freeman coming down with him.
Yep, Emery first and Freeman second. I saw him kind of go down low. I was wondering what the strategy was, but yeah, they're coming down pit road. They're going to make it on 45 miles an hour all the way down, Seth.
Wow. Ronald Lucier smoked those front tires as he drove it really quickly towards the commitment line. Looks like Orlando Leboy is on this time, along with Jack DeSalt and Andre Charest.
Jeremy Jeffries has alluded that he is pitting with Dante Ricky this time as well.
I think I also saw Frank Rivard in the 35 peel onto the access road. So we are now under our first round of green flag pit stops between laps 35 to 42. Ooh, I couldn't tell. Dante Ricky might have made a little contact with the pit wall with the right front of that car as he was hard on the brakes.
Yeah, that's one thing you don't want to do here, is make contact with the pit wall, you know. If you go a little bit too far to the right, we remember what happened with Kurt Busch. Remember all that?
Yeah, except he did that without a tire. He had no right front tire with him. Dave Melson is now on pit road along with Matt Watkins and Chuck McClure. That's going to turn the race lead over, I believe, to the 9 of Chris Elliott. we'll expect to see him on pit road maybe within the next lap. And it's going to be interesting to see here too, because as I said, with this access road, and you alluded to just how touchy it is, what the results are going to look like pre to post pit stops here. Who gained the most time? Who lost the most time?
Leader Chris Elliott's coming on down pit road. But and I believe Supta's now going to gain lead, and Robert Balcom won here at second, I believe, right now. But going back to what you're saying, Dante had told me earlier, when we get pit stops going in, if we make green all the way around with the pit stops, you can expect, like 5 or 6 to have their little race, and then like a while back you'll have 5 or 6 more, and then maybe 3 more, then 5 more, and they'll all be spaced out, have like little races within each other. So maybe that might be what we're about to start seeing, Seth, based on the track position here.
Now, Supta, Balcom, Jim Gloud, and Jerm Lewis back here, they all were on pit road in 1 or more of our previous 3 cautions. So they can go a little bit further on fuel. And the interesting thing is, too, you were talking about the play it safe strategy that Robert Balcom's doing right now. Now he's going to take the race lead. But I was looking back through the stats. They didn't run this version of Homestead last season. However, in the 121 lapper at Homestead last year, Robert Balcom led 83 of those laps and went on to win.
Not really surprised, though.
No,
Robert's really good at these tracks, intermediate, short tracks, and road courses. I think road courses. I've never raced him on a road course that I'm aware of, but I mean, he's good pretty much all around. So I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up pulling it off one way or another, somehow, some way.
Jeff Supta and Jim Gloud onto pit road, turning the race lead over now officially to the 0-18 of Robert Balcom. He and Jerm Lewis, I believe, are the last drivers. Nope, actually, correction. Bob Dixon and Brian Wolf, the last drivers we're waiting on to complete this cycle of green flag pit stops.
I'm currently watching the 62 of Ronald Luzier. He's back there going in turn 3, right behind Zach Freemal, and right where Freemal is, I mean, you got Matt Watkins right in front of him, and Chris Emery. Oh, Chris Emery in the wall a little bit through with Frank Rivard here.
And that would be a battle for position, I do believe. If things cycle out the way that they're looking right now, Dante Ricky is actually going to be the race leader over Jeremy Jeffries and Frank Rivard. That is when these 5 drivers eventually come to pit road. Balcom, Lewis, Dixon, Wolf, and actually Andre Rayum in the 63 is yet to make a pit stop.
So if we do the idea here, that's a really good pickup for Dante. Dante's going to have a little bit of a gap between him and Chris Emery.
Dante is going to pick up, I believe, 1 position. Jeremy Jeffries is going to pick up 3 spots from where they were both running prior to these green flag pit stops beginning. Robbie Nice is on pit road, and Robert Balcom now gives up the race lead to come to pit lane. And I mean, how about this? We were talking about Jerm Lewis spinning out not once, but twice in the first 15 laps of this race, and now, coming to lap 50, the 6:16, he's your new race leader.
Well, also remember, he pitted as well, so he can stay out a little bit longer, where he's going to have to come in sooner. Whoa, Chris Emery with a huge run on the 006 of Zach Freemal, going into 1 and 2. They're trying to make that high side work, Seth. I don't think that high side is going to come into play later on, but right now they seem to figure out something what to do here. Emery's going to look to the inside of Freemal going into 3 and 4, but it looks like Freemal is going to hold serve at this moment. In front of him, Frank Rivard, and in the front of this pack here, Matt Watkins, Seth. And they're having their own little group here, but up front, near the front of these guys, Jeremy Jeffries and Dante Ricky. They're just motoring along, waiting for the rest of the group to pit. And have they pit yet, Seth?
We had Bob Dixon down pit road. I think Jerm Lewis actually just hit pit lane as well. So this should turn the race lead over to the 84 of Dante Ricky.
Thibodeau around. Caution is out.
Thibodeau on the back straightaway there. Yellow
He's got
flag
damage on that car.
for the 4th time here tonight.
I think he TP'd to pit road to, I think he got towed to pit road, Seth. I'm sorry.
I think you are correct. Yes, there he is. There's the 34 of JP Thibodeau, who
I think that was off of 2.
I believe Thibodeau was running in the 18th position at the time of his spin, and we'll go back and see what happened to him. Was having a rather quiet day, and I don't know. What do you think? Fresh tires, cold tires?
But before we go to that, Chris Emery staying out. Everyone else coming on in.
Well, this is interesting. This has to be a fuel strategy call, I would think.
I'm just saying that's interesting to my point. How everyone's coming on. There's only several people staying out.
34 had an engine blow. That's why he spun off the corner. Black smoke erupting from underneath JP Thibodeau's race car as he exited out of turn 2, and I don't know if it was the engine blowing that caused it to spin or if he spun it trying to get it down to the inside to avoid a caution coming out. But whatever the case, it was the engine giving up the ghost that puts us under the forced caution of the night.
Dante Ricky taking tires, Seth. Ron Louisier's taking tires. Zach Primo took tires. He's taking 4 tires. So Robert Balcom's going to gain quite a few spots. Supta as well.
All right, I'm going to just real quickly, we're going to keep it on the replay screen just because I'm going to go back. I'm really curious to find out if maybe, just maybe, when everybody came down to make green flag pit stops, if maybe the race leaders went with fuel only? And now they're coming down and taking on a set? I don't know. I'm going to look here real quickly with the 84. Nope, 84 went with a 4-tire stop. So this would be their second set that they're taking on here.
I mean, if I was going to go through a full fuel run like Dante did originally, I would have taken tires to begin with. But to come back in and go ahead and use your tires again, that's something I probably would not have done. That's just me, though. I'm wondering what his strategy is right now.
Yeah, most of these drivers came down pit road about 8 to 10 laps ago. So that's what they would have had on their tires. They've got 4 sets. So they can theoretically make it the rest of the way on just one more pit stop. So maybe they just kind of didn't want to go out there with 10-lap-old tires, took the opportunity here under this yellow. Maybe they're of the assumption this is our last caution of the evening, and they may end up having to make green flag pit stops from here on out.
Well, if we got a run like we did a moment ago, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if that's what they're thinking. But like I said earlier to you, Seth, before we went on air, I was out there on the track and I was holding serve pretty well, with the 11 of Supta, and I had 6-7 lap older tires than what he had, so I guess they're just banking, on a full green flag run, probably.
Well, you asked me the question about would you come down pit road and take tires if you're up at the front. I said track position over tires. There are 8 drivers that are going with that strategy. Chris Emery will be the leader with Terry Bombard now second. Andre Charest, Jerm Lewis, Bob Dixon. That'll be the top 5. And then Bob Seminara, Jeff Supta, Dave Melson, and actually, I believe 10 drivers actually are staying out. You also have Jim Glaude and Robert Balcom, so it's 10. I had 8, but it was 10.
Robbie Nisus and Chris Elliott will be getting their lap back / wave around. I'm guessing Robbie is a lap down at this point. I'm not really sure. Now Robbie's going to go, and so will Chris Elliott to get back on the left. We will have 26 drivers on the left. JP Thibodeau, Randy Watt, and like we said earlier, the unfortunate accident that happened, John Godfrey. Those are the only 3 retirees, and everyone should be on the lap when we go back to green side.
Yep, all 26 cars on the same lap as the leader, Chris Emery. The pole sitter has led 28 laps so far here this evening. Zach Freemow has led the second most with 14. 3 laps led for Robert Balcom, 2 for Jim Lewis, 2 for Jeff Supta, and then Dave Melson, Dante Ricky, and Chris Elliott have led 1 apiece. We're nearing halfway in this race, working our 4th caution of the evening. Caution has been out for 18 of the current 51 laps that have been run, and it's going to be interesting to see here now because we've kind of had the tale of 2 races. We had those early cautions in the first 15 laps, and then we went green flag racing for a good 30-35 lap stint. So now as we start to near the second half of this race, it'll be interesting to see which side of the coin this final 50% of the race will be on.
Absolutely. I mean, we know as the race winds down, if there's a caution at the end, they're going to be really aggressive. But for this run, who knows? Pace car peels down. We're about to get underway. And Seth, it's all for you.
Chris Emery going to bring us back to the green flag. Highest that Terry Bombard has started here today in second place as they'll fan out into turn one. Still double wide from second place on back. That's going to be Andre Charest moving up to the second position. Charest, who last week, after what took place at Iowa, actually moved up to second in the Challenger standings. Obviously, he can't win the championship, but having another solid outing here tonight at Homestead, Miami.
Oh, someone pushed up off of 4. They're catching the apron just a little bit, it looks like, on the bottom of the 4, Seth. But they got to be really careful.
That was really low there off of 4. They were not 4 wide, but there were 4 cars in 4 different lanes off the final corner that last time by.
Well, remember, every time they get really bunched up like this, they start beating and banging side by side. Hopefully they can mind their P's and Q's and start going back to the way we had it a moment ago. But they're really getting racing this mid-pack up here around the 14th and 13th position.
And the reason for that being, you've got Jeremy Jeffries, Jim Glaude, and Dante Ricky. Those are the drivers right now on the freshest tires, and they're getting held up, so to speak, by drivers on older tires, anywhere from 8 to 10 lap older tires ahead of them. So there's kind of the race within the race. You've got Chris Emery and Andre Charest on older tires battling for the race lead. You've got Jeremy Jeffries and Dante Ricky. They're battling for who would be taking the race lead over when these top 8 would have to come to pit road if it's under green flag conditions.
It seems like track position is really becoming more of a factor than anything else right now in South. I mean, we saw them stay out. Chris Emery and Andre Charest side by side, kind of pulling a little bit of a small, not very big, but there's a small little gap there. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it looks like that, oh, let's pit now, may not end up, proving to be really viable.
As long as you can keep your car down on the bottom, even with older tires, it's like you can keep the fresher tires at bay. For these guys back here on the newer Goodyears, I think if you're going to make the move, you got to make it on these straightaways. Force that car up to the outside and force them to take the long way around the racetrack, because they're not going to give you that inside line when you go into the turns.
Look, Andre Charest keeps trying to get around the machine of Chris Emery, and in doing so, getting back in line, Terry Bombard immediately takes advantage of that, and he pulls up in the second, Seth.
Well, it's not clear yet. Almost had the 75 clear, but Charest pulls back alongside and actually gets a little bit of a push from Jerm Lewis draft-wise down the front straightaway. So I'm not necessarily certain Terry Bombard wants to be down there.
Are we going to go 3 wide? No, I was about to say, it looked like we were going to go and try to make it for a moment, then they backed off of it. I mean, Jerm Lewis, I mean, let's talk about the comeback he's had after such a huge issue. That caution pretty much just saved him completely of being off pace with everyone else, having to make that one pit stop a few laps later or anything, That caution comes out. Look where Jerm Lewis is, running the top 5. Running third last time by, probably lose that to Terry Bombard and Dave Nelson right here. So he'll probably get put back to 5th in a moment, possibly, because now there's a machine right behind him, and we know who that is.
It's Robert Balcom in that number 018. Now both of these drivers, the 616 and the 018, they are both on older tires. That might be why they're up there on the top side. Actually saw Jerm Lewis run up in the third group in that light gray over in turn 1 the last time by, and boy, that was close. He almost got in the back of Charest, almost got in the side of Terry Bombard.
I'm not going to give him away. I'm not going to call him out for doing it, because I know for a fact there are certain drivers that listen to the broadcast during the race, but certain people right now are clutching, Seth.
I think I might know one of them, because I was noticing he was up here and then he started fading. I'm going to wager a guess that 006 of Zach Fremont might be one of them.
I'm not calling anyone out or giving up anyone.
Well, that's my wager, just based on what I've seen here so far with his progress to the front and then kind of slowly fading to the back. But going back to what you were talking about...
Caution's out. Sorry, Seth.
And let's see who this was for. Oh, Jim Glaude in the 72. That's over in turns 3 and 4.
What in the world happened in 72?
Now remember, he was one of the drivers on older tires, and I think he was one of the older tire drivers that was furthest back in the field, surrounded by a lot of fresh Goodyears.
He had a really bad entry going into turn 1, Seth. A really bad entry. And when you get a bad entry going in there and you hit that apron and you push right up, you have to back off, otherwise you go straight up even higher. And I think that's what Jim did, is he, after he hit the apron and started going up, he had to back off to make sure he could save the car without having any issues, and then just lightly got hit. I don't know really how hard, but he got hit in the back by the 35 with Frank Rivard, so I don't know how much damage is done to the 35 machine.
A pretty good shot with the back end of the car into the outside wall did Jim Gloud, and yet just nothing that Frank Rivard can do in this situation. You can see right there, he was actually backing off to allow the 72 to try to gather it back up. As you mentioned, with that shallow entry, though, just had to lift so much. Just no way that the 35 could avoid contact. And I guess maybe the good news for Jim Gloud, pretty much most of that contact was with the rear end of the race car, but we've seen a lot of drivers with a little bit of a loose sensation, especially on fresh tires, with having that rear wing all mangled up. That's just going to make the car looser for the continuation of this race.
Yeah, the handling is not going to be the same, and it's not going to be happy or anything else for the rest of this race, especially when you go in the corners. And obviously the straightaway speed's probably going to be gone too. But Seth, Jerome Lewis stayed out the lead lap, and Jeremy Jeffries apparently stayed out. Everyone else pretty much came in.
Jeffries, Dante Ricky, and Matt Watkins, they had all been to pit road under the last caution, had actually taken on their second set of tires. Jerome Lewis, on the other hand, I'm not certain if he's going to stay out here and be our race leader or not, because he is off sequence from the other drivers around him. Looks like Jack DeSalt in the 36 also elected to stay out here under this caution. I want to go back here to the Jerome Lewis conversation, because we got to remember, yeah, he had those early incidents, but remember, he spun on turn 4 apron, saved it, no contact. He spun off of turn 2, maybe a little brush with Jeff Supta for the most part, no contact. So, I mean, that car is basically still at 100% the same way that it was when he started this race. Yeah, he's had the misfortune, but I mean, that car is still a contender.
Well, if everything goes according to how he's playing it, you know, he might actually be sitting in the best position right now based on everyone having to come into pit road, everyone having to pit. 64 laps right now from what I'm reading on Dave Nelson's board here. 64 laps are complete right now. So that's coming to 65. So if that's the case, 30 laps, roughly 30 to 32 laps, that gives the leaders about, what, 97? Having to pit 97 laps? No, on lap 97, I mean?
Yep. That's about where I was projecting they were going to have to pit after the 4th caution of the day. So
now, based on that analogy of where they're going to be at, well, caution lights are still on, so it's 2 more laps, roughly, right? At least 1 or 2 more, right? If that's the case, I'll be going back to green around 66, around 67, going on 68, or 68, going on 69, depending on how many more laps we got for caution. But if Jerm comes in a few laps or so, and you remember how we're saying that he's off sequence, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering how close he's going to be at the end of this if we go green.
Ooh.
Because you gotta realize 32 laps. We're only going to 121.
And I think the last time that Jerome Lewis was on pit road was back around lap 25 to 30. So
I think he pit, didn't he?
Yeah, so he's got to be close, because he stayed out under the last caution as well. So he's going to be having to come to pit road a lot sooner than everybody else behind him.
He's still staying out, so I mean, I don't know about this strategy, but I mean, I can see how it would work, and if it does work, by all means, kudos, bow down, and he deserves a lot of credit if he can pull this one off, Seth.
Well, I mean, it's been a good day for Jerm Lewis after he had his 2 early spins. He runs a limited schedule, only ran 5 races so far this season, yet to finish inside the top 10. Only led 2 laps coming into tonight, and he's already led 5 here this evening. Will be leading a 6th when he gets us back underway. Jeremy Jeffries will line up in 2nd with Dante Ricky 3rd, Matt Watkins 4th, and Jack DeSalt in 5th. Chris Elliott, I believe, also stayed out. Remember, he got the lucky dog under the last caution, so he'll restart in 6th. Zach Freemau is going to be up in 7th place with Ronald Lucet, Chris Emery, and Andre Rayum. That is the top 10. How about a comeback there for Andre Rayum after his early struggles?
Absolutely. I mean, that whole back end, he must have a lot of handling issues, and that speed's not there. But to come back and manage yourself to be in the top 10 ready to go, especially after all those misgivings, and now he's right next to Chris Emery, who's been leading a lot of this race so far. Stuff. I mean, now I want to point out something. If you're Chris Emery, right, and you're back here, and you got Dante Ricky running 4th, I wonder how long it's going to take Chris Emery to find his way back up toward the top 3.
Yeah, Chris Emery has led the most laps tonight, 38. And now has to try and find his way back up to the front where Jeremy Jeffries is now going to go. He, Matt Watkins, and Dante Ricky taking advances of their fresher tires. All jumped up to the top side there in turn 1, and more than likely will be the top 3 when we hit turn 1 here on the following lap.
Really close racing back here toward the back, Seth. Really close. 3 wide. Car way out of shape, hitting the wall up here. It is the 63 Andre Rayum, unfortunately, so he's going to lose the pack real quickly. Tough break for the 63 machine. Oh, there's a wreck off of 4. Someone hard in the wall and around.
That's, I think, Dave Melson in the 038. We almost had a follow-up wreck there as well. I think Jim Gloud almost got some help from Brian Wolf. 038 is going to drive away from the incident.
I was afraid it was going to be a wreck with Bob Dixon and around Orlando. I mean, I swear they were really close, Seth. Really close. Quarter racing right there.
See if we can find out what happened here with Dave Melson. And boy, we've been talking about this all night long. Just cars looping it around. There was no contact for the 038, it looks like. Going into turn 3, back end, just steps around on him. What an avoidance there by Jeff Supta, as well as, I think that was the 27 of Andre Mahjong.
Side note, Seth. Chris Emery, Zach Freemau, Chris Elliott, they stay out. Dante Ricky stays out. Jack DeSalt, Jeremy Lewis, and Jeremy Jeffries, they pit.
So we're continuing to, it's getting to the point now where it's kind of just throw up our hands and not really even try and figure out the strategy, because only the drivers in the cockpits know what is going on right now in terms of their strategy. We're going to see if we can find out about that potential follow-up wreck here. And here it is right there. Jim Gloud almost getting into the back of Brian Wolf, and you saw on the left side of your screen there as well the near contact that Jessica was just talking about there between Bob Dixon and Orlando LeBoy. So incredibly enough, we get away with a solo car incident, and usually when a car spins out heading into the corner, you don't normally get solo car incidents. Normally there's innocent victims.
Very, very, very fortunate this run that a lot more drivers weren't collected. I mean, there was a little bit of people running around Dave Melson too, and Melson's been having a really good run. He's been running around the top 5 early on in this race, so I was expecting to see him back up there, not, sometime in the future, maybe next 20 laps or so. I kind of expected him to get back up there, Seth. But now, under this caution, people pitting, people staying out, we're getting a whole bunch of different faces up here now, Seth. We've got Matt Watkins up here. We also have Chuck McClure, Robert Balcom back here in the top 10. Andre Cheris is right there in 8th now. Terry Bombard's holding home in 7th. Chris Emery is finally back up to 6th. Freemau's right there and battling the, I'm not sure whether it's 4th or 5th. I think it's 4th now. But, and Chris Elliott, the guy who was a lap down, getting the lucky dog, running back up here in 3rd. How about that number 9?
Yeah, if you looked at his chart of where he's been running here in this race, it probably would look like a mountain peak. Started second in
Up,
this
down,
race,
up.
fell towards the back as you set a lap down, and now back up here inside the top 5.
Chris Elliott harnessing his inner Grant Wesley / Robert Balcom abilities.
Matt Watkins is going to lead his first couple laps of the evening. Only 3 starts so far this year for the driver of the 20 machine. Had a top 5 back at Pikes Peak in his last start and has 2 top 10s so far this season in only 3 starts in the Aero 88 series, and now we'll be leading them to green. It looks like, well, we haven't gotten the 1 to green signal, so we don't know for certain, but at least right now it's looking like he may be planning to start on the top side, which no race leader has done so far tonight.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether he... I mean, if you think about it, Seth, Watkins is one of those guys who wants to try something a little bit different. Maybe he's planning on getting that run, you know, at the very beginning to get that jump for the start of the race, Seth, and then randomly just pulling ahead of Dante and able to hold serve like Chris Emery was doing earlier.
We'll have to see if that's his plan. Yeah, he's not pulling that car down to the inside here, and the light should be going out top the pace car this time, so he'll yield the inside to Dante Ricky on this restart with Elliott, Fremont, and Emery, your top 5. And I believe, yep, all 26 cars that are still running are still in the lead lap. We had no need for a lucky dog here as we're working caution number 6. And I keep watching the lap counter as well here, just because, as we know, most drivers were able to go about 38 to 41 laps when we went into that long green flag run. I keep watching to see if we get down close to that fuel window.
Wait, 38 to 41 laps on fuel?
Yep.
Really? Wow. Are you not counting the caution laps?
Well, I should count the caution laps because I'm going based off the drivers that made their first pit stop on that green flag round, but we did have, as you mentioned, we did have those 3 caution periods, so it may be actually less than that. You're right.
I do want to point out that next week will be the season finale, even though the champions pretty much decided with Robert Balcom. You know, they still have one battle going on, that's the Charger Series, and that will be, like we said before, Frank Brevard, Bob LaChance, and Ron Luzier battling for that. But next week will be Michigan RTG. I'm sure it's going to be the Trek, the version they're going to use, and that race will be at 8:30, 9 o'clock, like normal, like this race tonight. So looking forward to that one as well, Seth.
Yeah, championships decided in the Irish Hills. Of course, Michigan, being 2 miles in length, is actually classified as a super speedway, so you could kind of call it a wild card race to finish out the year and give us our 3 champions. And look at Chris Emery back there in the 222. Oh, that gave me some Jim Glaude flashbacks of his shallow entry. I thought he was going to take out Andre Charest.
And Jeremy Jeffries already went from the bottom to the middle trying to get around. Oh, contact with the wall. Jeremy Lewis and Ron Luzier trying to span out a little bit, going underneath Bob LaChance. Going to have a really bad entry in that corner there. Moves up, but they all save it. And like I said, remember what I was saying? Matt Watkins with that high side gets that little bit of a jump, and he's able to hold serve like Chris Emery did earlier.
Well, I'm wondering if Dante Ricky missed a shift because he's now all the way back to the 7th
Whoa,
position.
rack. Bob Dixon, Ron Luzier, Jeremy Jeffries, all involved back here.
And drivers scatter to the apron to try and avoid. Ooh, Robbie Nices just barely sneaks through.
Jeremy Lewis is involved after such a good comeback for him.
Oh, and I'm not certain. There's definitely black smoke coming out from underneath the 616, but I couldn't tell if that was tire smoke or engine smoke coming out from behind the number 8 of Jeremy Jeffries, second in the point standings.
Jack DeSalle has back end damage, Seth. I don't know if there's going to be any issues with that. I know there was someone else with back end damage I just saw. I'm not sure that was from previous or not. I'm trying to go back around. Dixon. Looks like Robbie Nices got through it just fine.
I'm not certain if it was engine smoke or not, but Jeremy Jeffries, if the championship wasn't already decided, it certainly is now. Second in points, Jeremy Jeffries has taken his car to the garage.
Dante Ricky is pitting, so why don't we look at the replay and see what in the world just happened?
Bob Dixon in the 143 snapping around is going to be the one that starts this 7th caution of the evening. And unlike the incident that we saw with Dave Melson for our 6th caution, this one, as we mentioned, it had the innocent bystanders.
Dante went really low coming into pit road, Seth, and then he just went right back out on track when they got to the pit road entry. I'm not sure what that was about. I'm sorry to face off on that, but I'm just really curious about that move.
There's Ron Lucet. He's taken his car back behind the wall. Jack Dassault involved as well. And yeah, going back to the Dante Ricky thing, I'm not sure what happened, but when we saw Chris Emery make that 3-wide move into turn 1, I think something happened with the 84 and it stacked everybody up. I don't know if he missed a gear or what exactly happened there, but something was definitely amiss, I think, on Dante Ricky's machine.
Well, like I said, it looked like he was coming down pit road at the moment. He went through the access road all the way down, and all of a sudden he comes right back on track before entering the pit line. So I don't know what that was about specifically. A couple of cars did pit. Chris Elliott was one of them, and it looks like we might have a couple more takers here this round. Matt Watkins is still up in the front, so no worries about that for the 20 machine. But Seth, you noticing something here?
Yeah, second half of the race, and the aggressiveness is picking up. That's one thing I'm noticing.
That's what I was commenting on, about to comment on. It seems like the closer we get, the more aggressive they're getting. I mean, I don't know how much more aggressive you could get without taking over the whole field, but I mean, watching Matt up here, and then all of a sudden, everyone in the middle to the back of the pack really struggling for track position. They're really going hard at it. I mean, we still got quite a bit of ways to go, at least one more pit stop.
Oh yeah, no doubt about that. I mean, we've got about, if my calculations can quickly be done, I think it's 44 laps before the conclusion of this race when they hit the line this next time by. And to your point, yeah, they're going to have to come to pit road at least one more time between now and then. And we had only 2 cars out of the race in the first 15 laps. Then we went a good span of everybody on the lead lap, 26 cars. Well, 2 more drivers now back in the garage area with Jeremy Jeffries and Ron Lucet. Jerm Lewis, somehow, his pit crew worked a miracle because that car is back out there after it was smoking nearly half the racetrack, limping back to pit road.
Yeah, and I'm noticing that Jack Dassault's out there. Chris Elliott's back here because he just pitted. I don't think he was involved at all. Looks like Robbie Nices is going to stay out as well. Oh, I mean, I don't know, Seth. Would you rather be up near the front at this point, or would you rather be in the back to watch everyone wreck and the aggressiveness hop in, or would you be up near the front and able to sit there and say, haha, everyone's behind me, but at the same time, knowing that it's going to be more aggressive around you?
Well, honestly, I think I'd want to be up at the front. I think a big reason is based off of that replay. We focused on Jack Dassault and Ron Lucet. They were in their own little side-by-side battle about 6-7 cars behind where the initial incident took place and had absolutely nowhere to go. The track was completely blockaded up. So I think that definitely give me the clean air, or at least up towards the front where things have seemed to get rather spaced out when the green flag comes out.
Seth, you asked and there's an answer. 84, no third gear.
And so that would certainly explain the stack up we saw there on the restart. And he's going to be restarting up here in the 7th position as Dante Ricky. So it's going to be very interesting to watch him here on the front straightaway going into turn 1. I think these drivers have to shift to that 3rd gear around the center of turn 1, at least the center of 1 and 2.
You know, we keep talking about the pit stops and making the pit stop and the fuel and how many tire stops we can make. One thing we really haven't touched too much on is a realistic. Yeah, we've talked about how much damage they get here and there, but we haven't really talked about the realistic damage part of being realistic.
Right now, I'm looking at the drivers where they're running as opposed to the incidents we've had here tonight. About maybe 18 of our remaining 24 drivers that have been able to keep their cars pretty much clean, so would be up to speed and in the hunt for this victory. But man, can you imagine if this thing goes green to the end now? Because we know they're going to have to make one more pit stop. The question is, when would they have to make it? But Green flag going to come back out. You see the 84 of Dante Ricky peeling low. With that no third gear, he's going to yield to the cars behind him. They'll be able to get up through the gears and up to speed a lot quicker than he will. Now he's going to have no choice but be on that inside line in front of Andre Charest.
Yeah, and going to a point here, you pull down to the inside so people can pass you on the high side, because when you have these races like this with in-game cautions and in-game flags, there's really no penalty for jumping to the high side like that, is there, Seth?
No, there isn't. Nope. So, yeah, even with the in-game yellows, if you pass on the outside line, the game will not black flag you for picking up that position. It actually reads that the car on the inside line is slightly off the pace. His outside line right now prevailing. Zach Freeman was actually able to get the lead from Matt Watkins. Watkins back to second, and now Robert Balcom in the third position. So, you know, Robert Balcom realizes now with Jeremy Jeffries out of the race, the championship is locked up, and he's decided, all right, enough riding at the back. It's the second half of this race. It's go time, and he's trying to see if he can pick up win number 4 on the season.
Well, he's got a few laps to do it. You know, I mean, we got a lot of drivers, hungry drivers coming up. We got Supta behind him. I mean, remember how Supta was way in the back for a while, and now he's back up here and running nice and strong. Chuck McClure losing a possession to Chris Emery, who's been leading a lot of this race earlier on. So Chris Emery's making a comeback as well, Seth. Some of these drivers starting to come back and get their names back into the mix.
It's the battle between the two drivers with multi-time wins this season. Robert Balcom with 3, Jeff Supta with 4. They are third and fourth right now, and Supta looks back to the inside going into turn 1.
I just think that high side's going to get a run here, and he's going to have to get back in line. Yep, there he goes.
Top side gets the better run off the corner, and again, I think that entire outside line there, that outer groove of the dark gray, you're just able to carry so much more speed and not have to worry about getting off the throttle when the car gets tight, like it just happened there with Terry Bombard, who almost went up into Andre Monjong, who in turn almost went up and slapped the outside wall.
Single file back here for quite a few positions behind Chris Emery. I mean, we know it's going to pick up with the intensity the closer this thing draws to an end, but the question is, what time do you say enough is enough and let's go? Is it now, or would you wait a few more laps before you go inside?
Oh, we got a car on the wall and they're going to spin.
Oh, there they go, right.
Chuck McClure at the start-finish line. That's going to blockade up the track. Everyone trying to avoid, and I think they did. How did we just have a 2-car incident? I have no clue.
Jerome Lewis has come in and he's retired, Seth, by the way.
Tough break there for Jerome Lewis, who is having a great performance here tonight, and it looks like another driver is going to join him as the 27 of Andre Mahjong. Looks like he has just parked his race car for the evening, and this was a battle up towards the front, somewhere around the 7th, 8th position.
Yep, Chuck McClure has a lot of back end damage.
And it almost looked like someone, I'm not sure if it might have been the 17.
No, if you watch when the 27 comes off the corner, he gets a little bit loose, just a little bit, like I was telling you about, like swapping that like high side just a tad bit coming off. Get really twitchy in the back, loosey goosey in the back end, and at that point, so was Chuck. You know, Chuck trying to avoid it, but then trying to get back in line and just overcorrected. A little bit of contact was made, and that's all it took.
I saw also some contact with the 35 of Frank Rivard, and I'm not certain if that really gave him a lot of damage or if it was one of those cases where with just the point of impact, he kind of muscled his way past the spinning 17 car and maybe got away with getting no damage sustained. He also almost came down and doored Terry Bombard. So, boy, I'm just amazed the fact that Chuck McClure was able to get the thing going again. Everyone avoided him, and everyone avoided the spinning 27 of Andre Mahjong, because on the back straightaway, you at least have that little bit of grass, so it makes it a little bit more spacious back there. Here on the front straightaway, you've got a wall on the outside, you've got a wall separating the track from pit road, and this could have very well been a parking lot.
Just letting you know, a few of these drivers have come back in. Dante Ricky, Robert Balcom, Jeff Supta, Frank Rivard, Matt Watkins, and Zach Freeman. They all came back in the pit.
I think, might be wrong, but I think the fuel window was open for these drivers to make it the rest of the way. So maybe
80,
the final pit stop of the day for these guys?
86, 96, 106, 116. That's 30 laps right there.
Yep.
They're really, I think what they're going to use is they're going to try to use these caution laps to try to benefit them, probably.
So maybe the final time that these drivers will be coming down and saying hello to their pit crews is Dave Melson in the 038 is on the apron. I think he might be coming to pit road again this time.
Chris Emery's going to inherit the lead with Andre Jerez second, and third right now is Bob LaChance in the 51. Seth having a really good run. Haven't really talked about the 51 too much today.
I don't think we've talked about him at all, at least here on the track. We've talked about the situation he's going to be in that Charger Championship next week at Michigan, but yeah, really haven't talked about his performance here today, and maybe that's a good thing because he's kept himself out of trouble.
Been really quiet and methodically working his way up, trying to stay out of any issues whatsoever. Talked about him a couple times around a lot of other people, but you know, he was pretty much running around like between 10th to 15th, just staying out of the way, pretty much just calmly riding. Now, at the end of this, he's right up here running in third. And Andre Jerez too. He started making his move a little bit earlier on near the front, and look where he's at. He's back up here in second place, but he's going to have a real tall order if he wants to get ahead of that triple-digit 22-2 up there with Chris Emery.
Yeah, it's interesting because I was looking before we came on the air at Chris Emery's statistics. Of course, we mentioned the fact tonight he got his second pole and he has a victory this year at Dover. But another number that jumped out to me, of the drivers that have made at least half of the starts this season, he has the third highest average finish, an average finish of 8th place behind Robert Balcom and Jeremy Jeffries, who are two other drivers that have been to victory lane. So not only has it been a good year for him in terms of showing his speed and his ability to win, it's been a great year as far as consistency for the 222.
Based on those stats, oh yeah, it really is. And that momentum, we were talking about momentum and morale earlier, remember, about John Kerrigan having that issue lately as well. I mean, one to go right now, so we're going to go green next time around. But, I mean, with all that momentum going, Chris Emery's in a really good position, having really good runs. He started in the pole, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
So, started from the pole, led quite a bit of laps, finding himself in the mid-pack after pit stops and cautions, and look where he's at, right back up near the front again. He's going to have Andre Jerez second. Third will be Bob LaChance. Fourth, Chris Elliott. And running right there in fifth is the champion for the Challenger Series, Jack Dassault. And right next to him, Seth, we find the one machine of Chuck McClure, who's got that back end damage. I wonder if that's going to affect him on the start.
Keep an eye on row 3. I was just going to mention that Jack Dassault, he was involved in the 7th caution, got some pretty heavy contact when he and Ronald Lucet got caught up in that incident over in turn 1. So I'm not certain how up to speed he is, and as you mentioned, that damage on Chuck McClure involved in this latest caution, so that might be the row to keep an eye on for a potential stack up here when we go back green with what's going to be 20. Oh, come on, brain, work with me. 23 laps to go. No,
23.
33 laps to go. I can't math. My goodness, I'm in the
We got
wrong
Robert
business.
Balcom. We got Robert Balcom, Matt Watkins, Zach Fremont, and Jeff Super right behind that row 3.
Those were drivers that were on pit lane here under this latest caution. Might very well be good to make it to the conclusion of this race as Emery gets a great jump, about a car length and a half, 2 car lengths over Jerez.
Oh,
battles for third.
36 all over the place.
Boy. Yep, here it goes. This is what I was talking about. You can see all the speed that
Supka
Jack
hit the wall.
lost. Wow, that was a
Supka
shot.
got the wall.
Definitely did. He kept his momentum, however. And this is nerve-wracking right now if you're Jack Dassault.
Oh my gosh. 3 wide again with Brian Wolf. No.
Oh, we got a car on Chuck McClure. I think he blew up.
Yeah.
That's probably going to bring out a caution. No, still green.
Not yet. Dude, it's still green. So go ahead and look. I'll focus on Chuck here.
Watch the battle here for 5th. Make that 6th place. Zach Fremont going to lose the spot to Jeff Supta. as Andre Charest and Chris Elliott trying to reel in Chris Emery. Charest has not led a lap here tonight and trying to get his first lap led of the evening here at Homestead, Miami. Closes it up to about a half a car length here coming to the start-finish line.
Still green. Chuck's going in turn 3 on the access road right now. Tough break for 17.
It definitely is. Chuck McClure, I mean, the night went from at least decent to absolutely horrible in the span of 4 laps. Got involved in our latest caution, and now the engine goes south, and more than likely he will be our 9th retiree of the evening, joining Andre Mahjong, Jerm Lewis, Bob Dixon, Jeremy Jeffries, Ronald Lucet, JP Thibodeau, Randy Watt, and John Godfrey. The battle for the lead is on. Andre Charest with a great run down the front straightaway.
Chuck McClure is on pit road and he is stopped, South, but he's not retired yet, so I don't know.
They might get that car fixed, because remember Jerm Lewis, even though he was off the pace when he left pit road, he had black smoke trailing out of his machine and he was still able to continue on. Ooh, Bob LaChance got the apron there off of 4, almost pushed up into Supta, and Supta I think may have brushed the wall yet again. There may be quite a bit of light blue paint on the right side of that Mountain Dew machine.
And Chuck McClure has officially blown it all the way, because I heard him revving it really hard in the pit stall, and he's now retired, Seth.
But McClure will be finishing 21st here tonight as, ooh, that was interesting. I think just about everyone inside the top 7 there, Jess, they clutched through the middle of 3 and 4.
I told you, I was wondering if they would have to have a little bit more. Remember, I thought we were going to be a couple laps short.
Matt Watkins, he's on the attack mode now, just swung around the outside of Andre Charest. He sets his sights on Chris Emery.
I was going to bring up Dante Ricky, trying to come back in the top 10 here. He's trying to make it to the point of joining this battle as well. He's right behind Terry Bombard, Frank Brevard, and Chris Elliott back here behind this whole big battle happening with the Robert Balcom and Andre Charest now.
If there's one driver that wants to see this thing go green to the end, it's Dante Ricky. He does not want to have any more restarts and have that missing 3rd gear come into play. If he can have this go green to the end and just keep it in 4th gear, he should be all right.
Robert Balcom getting a little bit of the wall there, and Andre Charest, a little bit of contact side by side there off of turn 2, Seth.
Andre Charest on slightly older tires, so not really able to pin it down to the inside. You saw him run even the middle groove there, forcing Balcom almost into the light gray.
Matt Watkins making a move toward the lead here.
See if he can get alongside in 1 and 2. He's at least to the left rear quarter panel. Ooh, he might not be able to get the power down. He might be a sitting duck, because here comes Supta on the outside.
Supta's been playing around back there, coming up to the front, going to the back, coming back up to the front. We know that Supta wants to leave, but anyone else who wants it even worse is that 006 of Zach Fremont. He had the lead for a short bit. He wants it right back. He's going to move his way into 3rd position now and start attacking on Jeff Supta and Chris Emery.
Jeff Supta, 4th
and he is
in the
clutching.
point standings.
I am hearing the clutch. They still are doing it.
How short do you think they might possibly be here? How much do they have to save if we do go green to the finish?
I'm not sure. I mean, it's easier to save on a plate track, Seth, or a road course, in my opinion.
Oh, look at that! He's looking up the middle there. That was a dicey move.
But, I mean, going back to what you were saying, I don't know, Seth, because this is an intermediate. You're using a lot of throttle, and you can't stay off the gas too long here. So I'm not really sure. Oh, look at Watkins. Watkins about lost it right behind Supta coming off of turn 2.
He had to lift because Supta kind of forced his way up in front of the 20 machine, and Watkins really had no choice but to let him in line. You can see how much momentum that lost the 20. He'll drop about a car length back behind Supta now, who sets his sights on Zach Fremont. Fremont's also in attack mode. He's looking for a way around Chris Emery, and look at some of the names that have popped up here lately.
Yeah, I wanted...
Frank Brevard in the 35 is now in the mix, and even though he kind of dropped back a bit, Terry Bombard's still very much in this in 7th.
I wanted to bring this up real quick, okay? What did you say at the start of the program? If there was one driver who wanted to have a good run, it was who? the 15 of Sean Kerrigan. Look at him having a really good run, holding 11th, battling for that position with Orlando LaVoy right now. I mean, he's having a really good run.
Definitely is. Hopefully the commentator's curse doesn't come into play here. Ooh, Chris Elliott a little shallow into turn one.
I thought Kerrigan was going to make contact with LaVoy there for a minute.
Yeah, LaVoy had to check up because Elliott was checking up.
We have a battle up ahead up there. Supta's on that inside line.
Yeah, Supta has really been the one here for the last 5 laps or so, really trying to make the inside line work. It has not exactly gained him anything, and we did have a lead change. Zach Fremont did get around Chris Emery, so now he is showing the way in that 006. Zach Fremont, a limited number of starts this season, and he finds himself coming into tonight's race currently in, I think he's outside of the top 20. I'll have to double check on his position in the standings.
And remember what we said about Dante. Dante could probably go the rest of the way, right?
I believe so.
He didn't want to see a caution.
Yeah.
I know we got a battle for second. Matt Watkins is looking underneath Chris Emery for second.
And I actually just found out Zach Fremont's actually making his season debut. This is his first start here tonight in season 52 of the Aero 88 series.
I'm not going to say a single word.
Might be able to have a winning percentage of 100% here. Let's see if he's going to be able to close out the deal. Watkins moves into second. Bobman right there in third place now as he'll get around the 222.
You also got to remember something, Seth. If we have a new first-time winner, really tight with Supta right there. But if we have a first-time winner this season, you know what that means. If they win this race here, they get locked into the All-Star race in the fall. Where the speedway was. There goes Chris Emery. Chris Emery barely got hooked off of Supta right into Frank Rivard. Nothing could happen off of that. Caution is out. And Seth, this is going to put a really big dent in what Zach Fremont was trying to do up there.
Definitely is. This is going to help drivers as far as fuel saving. They'll be able to save under this pacing, but now also comes the big question, Jess. I mean, if these drivers do have a set of tires still available to them, do they maybe come down pit road and take on those tires now? Because the restart will be with less than 20 to go.
Well, my opinion, are you saying if I was running up near the front, middle, or to the back?
Up at the front. If your guys like Fremont, Watkins, Balcom up there inside the top 5.
How many laps on our tires will we have since the last restart? The
last
stop?
I think since the last stop, these drivers have turned 15 laps.
My opinion, I would come in and get tires, yes. I mean, I wouldn't want to give up the track position, but based on going a full fuel run, I've seen how the tires are around like maybe 80%, but still it pushes up. You want to make sure if you can make that move that you can hold that bottom coming off the corners, and I honestly think the fresh tires are needed.
Bob Seminara, I think, was only going about 35, 40 miles per hour, but he had a close call there, splitting both of the spinning cars of Chris Emery and Frank Ribard, and tough break there for Frank Ribard, just an innocent bystander after the contact between Supta and Emery. He took a hard shot with the front end of his machine into the inside walls, so not certain how up to speed that car is going to be. And look who decided to stay out and lead a lap, Sean Kerrigan in the 15 car, so he'll get himself that valuable bonus point, and we'll see if he actually decides to lead us to the green here. For right now, looks like would be somewhere in the vicinity of maybe about 15 laps to go.
Well, I'm not trying to upset anyone here, but based on what you said last time about that row having an issue, third row with the damage possibly might hinder a little bit. These guys that are coming out, Matt Watkins, Fremont, all these guys here, they've got some cars that might have some damage in front of them. I mean, actually, no, Andre Raymond is now pitting, isn't he? Okay.
Yes, he is. But you got Dave Melson there in the 038. I know that he was involved in an incident. Mostly his damage was to the right side of his machine, though.
Frank Rivard's up here.
Yep. And we know that he definitely had some damage from this yellow flag.
Well, what I'm looking at is We're going to get the green to go, what, next time by probably? We're going to get one to go?
We should.
And if that's the case, then I'm really... We get one to go next time by. That puts us at 108 going back to green, correct?
Yes.
You know what that puts us? That puts us really close in that window of race back.
Oh, that's true.
And
Absolutely.
then we gotta worry about the last caution coming out. Do you want to make the move at 4 to go, or you not worry about the caution coming out? You know what I mean? So a lot of these guys have a lot to think about right now.
Yeah, we've ended up having most of our cautions come out with just about everybody on the lead lap. I think we've only had 2 cautions come out where there were lap machines, and that was at the very early stages of this race. And unusually long caution periods here for Homestead. I was fully expecting to see maybe 3 laps of pacing, but it seems like we've had about 4 laps of pacing for these drivers. So that brings up a great point too of when to make the move, because let's calculate that there's going to be 4 laps of pacing. You're probably going to want to make the move for the win if a caution comes out, maybe as early as lap 115, 116. And we do have a driver out of the race. Chris Emery, the pole sitter, will not reach the conclusion. So tough break for him. Been a tough break for both the teammates, Emery and Jerm Lewis, as they'll both finish this race behind the wall. And Sean Kerrigan does decide to stay out. He will lead us back to the green flag. Orlando LeBoy in the 42 will line up to his outside. Talk about a couple of underdog stories that might be able to unfold there. And then Frank Rivard with that damage. He did not come down pit road after being involved in this latest yellow. He'll be in 5th. Then you got Matt Watkins, Zach Freemow, Robert Balcom. That's going to be the first 3 rows. Rest of the top 10, Dante Ricky, Terry Bombard, Robbie Nisus, and Chris Elliott. But oh, I don't know, Jess. With the way that they're lined up here, I'm getting the feeling we may not be done with cautions just yet.
Yeah, but regarding the cautions, I've been trying to sit here and think. Every caution we've had, obviously they've been running around each other really tight. We get that, but it's always been a restart, or it's been close to coming toward pitting or getting close to pit stops. Correct?
For the most part, yeah.
I mean, if we start nearing pit stops, it gets really racy. Caution might come out. If we get a restart, caution might come out. And we've seen as they keep progressing close to that point, the intensity starts ramping up. Well, now that's all over. Now we're getting close to the ending point. The intensity is really going to start ramping up, Seth. And they're going to be side by side as we get ready to go back to green on lap 108.
Green flag going to fly. It will be 16 laps remaining here as the green flag is out. Or I'm sorry, it's actually 14 laps to go. As Kerrigan up through the gears. Math was never my strong suit, never will be. Matt Watkins, though, up the middle, 3 wide with Rivard and LeBoy. That's not a lot of space there down the back straightaway. And he made it work. Now jumps up to the top side.
3 wide again. Oh, are we going to go 4 wide?
That's almost 4. It's 3, 2 rows deep. That much we know.
Oh, and
Welcome
the
into the
wall.
wall.
Caution's out.
Yellow flag gonna fly for the 10th time here tonight at Homestead, and it looks like it was on the front straightaway. Jeff Supta was involved in this one. And Supta's night may be over.
Supta's been doing so good, now all of a sudden things have turned evil to him real quickly, Seth.
That's been happening with a lot of drivers here tonight, I mean, we ended up having Chuck McClure up inside the top 10. Then he got involved in a caution, got back in traffic, and then had the engine expire. You had Chris Emery having a great night, and then he gets involved in a wreck. Jerm Lewis had worked his way back up to the top 5, and then he had himself involved in a wreck. I mean, there's been a lot of drivers here tonight that have been involved in incidents when they've been having such good performances in the first half.
Absolutely. I mean, it seems like a lot of these drivers, like we saw Chris Elliott, right? Chris Elliott was up near the front and doing okay. All of a sudden, goes to the back. All of a sudden, he's a lap down, comes back up front, and then all of a sudden, look what happens to him. We saw, like we just saw Supta, right? And Chuck McClure, he was making a move toward the front. He was slowly buying his time, but he was coming to the front. And all of a sudden, he gets it taken out of the equation completely as well. Jerm Lewis had those issues coming up. Really good story of him coming back up, and then look what happens. I mean, Homestead is becoming a lot like Darlington or Dover or Bristol at this moment.
But again, as we said at the top of the program, the championship for the most part was basically decided, so everybody was going to be aggressive here tonight to see who could pick up a W late in the season, and we had that 3 wide, 2 rows deep. They were 3 wide back here to bring out this 10th caution with Jim Gloud, Jack DeSalt making the contact, and then later on down towards turn 1, Gloud and Supka making more contact with each other, which has now put Jeff Supka back in the garage area. So the 4-time winner will not pick up a 5th win here tonight, at least at Homestead, Miami. He'll have to try again for it next week in the season finale at Michigan.
Remember, when we go back to green here, we're going to be under 10 to go, I would imagine, or at least at 10 to go, either 10 or 9 to go. So with that being said, it's race back at that point, and at the same time, now, are you racing to lap 117 or lap 116, or are you racing to the checker?
And I'm actually liking this strategy by Sean Kerrigan right now as well, because let's say we end up having another caution immediately after we go green, and then maybe another caution the following time. I mean, he could maybe, if he gets decent enough restarts, be able to hold off the fresher tires behind him with the aiding of some quick yellows to pick up this victory. So it's kind of that net gain, net loss. Where was he running most of this race? Maybe around 11th through 13th. If he can finish 7th or 8th on this strategy, even if he doesn't pick up the win, that's a net gain of about 4 or 5 spots.
All I'm going to say is this. Sean Kerrigan, whether he finishes up in the front and wins this race or wherever in top 10 form by the end of this race or so, Seth, he's having a good run completely. And after what you said, completely bad luck over and over and over. And we commented earlier about how he's having such a good luck so far this race. I mean, think about it right now. Really, really fortunate to be up here leading this race. I wonder if it's going to be a possibility for him to seal the deal here.
We're going to have to wait and see. It will indeed be less than 10 to go when we go back green. We haven't even gotten the lights out top of the pace car this time. They'll be hitting 10 laps remaining. So it'll be 9 laps to go if the lights go out here when we go back green flag racing. Now, if Kerrigan is not able to hold off the fresher tires behind him right now, in terms of the drivers we've seen up front consistently in this race, looks like it might come down between the 20 of Matt Watkins and the 6 of Zach Fremount, who, by the way, they're both chasing their first Aero 88 Series win of the season.
Frank Rivard is restarting in 4th. He's got a little bit of damage, so do you think that everyone's going to try to dive really hard to the middle, to the inside, to try to get around Frank Rivard right here, and that might be the caution?
We're going to have to wait and see. I mean, he was able to hold on to 4th. He didn't drop like a rock through the field the way that Jack DeSalt did. So he might be okay. We didn't really get a clear view of just how hard the impact was with the inside wall and the incident he was involved in back on the 9th caution. So I don't know if it's when we get longer into a run that we're going to start to see the ill effects of the damage he got, or if he may still be all right. If the impact was with the rear end of the car, he might still be up to speed, but only time will tell here, and we're about to find out.
And let's give props to Jack DeSalt. All that damage, really far off the pace, and he's still out there running, trying to salvage what he can.
Last car on the lead lap, last car running in 18th place, as it will be 18 drivers at this point that look to finish out tonight's event. Top 10 the way they will restart with less than 10 to go. Sean Kerrigan leads Matt Watkins, Zach Fremount 3rd, Frank Rivard and Terry Bombard, that's your top 5. Orlando LeBoy 6th, Dante Ricky in 7th, then Chris Elliott, Robert Balcom, who right now is clinched to get the championship if he can continue to run where he's at, and Brian Wolf makes his first appearance, I believe, inside of the top 10 here under green flag conditions in that Batmobile.
Robbie Nice is up here in 12th too, Seth. You can't discount him.
Green flag out with 9 laps to go, and yep, that's why I say run all the laps. You never know what's going to happen. It's been a bit of a race of attrition.
Almost.
Wow. That was Robert Balcom going up the middle there, along with Brian Wolf as they make their way around the 42 of Orlando LeBoy. Up at the front, though, Matt Watkins jumps to the top of Kerrigan. Zach Fremount looks to the bottom. Here's Terry Bombard looking for a spot.
What was
Six
that?
was hard on the brakes. Take the 6 of Fremont just slammed on the brakes because the 15 can't dive it in as deep as he can.
Seth, the intensity is really about to pick up. I mean, it's getting there. It's getting there. You see Robert up on the high side. He's trying to make something work up there. He's got Dante right behind him.
With Jeremy Jeffries, his closest competitor, out of the race, Robert Balcom's got the championship locked up. Now he's trying to see if he can tie Jeff Supta for most wins this season. Fremont jumps way up to the top side there, open the door for Robert Balcom, but now Fremont's going to have the preferred outside line going into turn 1. He'll take that momentum to the outside of Sean Kerrigan for 3rd.
Kerrigan's trying everything he can to hold on. He's doing a good job, even though he's lost the top spot. He's doing a good job of trying to hold up in the top 5 at this moment, so I'm really surprised that the machine by himself on that bottom is holding as well as he is right now with that whole run that those guys at the top have with those fresh tires. Kerrigan's doing a really good job.
Harry Bombard has made only 4 starts this season, but in his last 2 finishes, both have been inside the top 5.
Battle for second up here.
Fremont jumps it down to the inside, but he can't get the car to rotate from the center of the corner off, can't get the momentum. If someone's going to make a move for this win, it's going to have to be on that inside line. I hesitate to say it, but it might have to be a slide job because it just doesn't seem like the inside gets enough momentum for you to be able to get the advantage, especially off turn 4 coming to the start-finish line. And Jess, we're into the point now where if a caution came out, the race would be over. So it is go time for all these drivers.
Absolutely. If they're going to make a move for this win, they better do it now before that caution comes out, or it might not come out. But I'd rather be safer than sorry. I'd rather make that move while I got a chance. And it looks like Fremont's trying to do something.
Dante Ricky, no 3rd gear needed as he's up in the 4th position, and now he's less than 0.3 of a second behind the race leader. Zach with a deep dive there into turn 1. Had to get on the brakes, though, as that car was starting to push up.
Oh, I'm just worried, Seth, that they go side by side, and as hard as they're running, if they do that off of turn 2 or off of turn 4, someone's going to hit that wall really hard.
Push is going to have to come to shove at some point here if you're going to win this race.
Kerrigan and Seminara. Sorry.
That's Andre Charest in that mix as well. How about Brian Wolf up here late? He and outside pole sitter Chris Elliott going to battle for 6th position. As the battle for the lead now, it's 4 machines. Matt Watkins, Terry Bombard, Zach Fremont, and Dante Ricky all looking for their first win on the year. You got to go back to 5th to find a previous winner from this season in the eventual champion Robert Balcom, as Fremont tried to get that to work there off of turn 4, pushes up the track again, and it's going to be 2 laps to go for Matt Watkins.
Can Matt Watkins hold on to it and actually do something with it? We'll find out in a couple of moments, Seth, but Dante Ricky's really hungry, and like you said, so is Zach Fremont, and Zach Fremont has been really aggressive the last half of this race.
Normally at the 1.5 miles, you bottom feed to keep the cars in your rearview mirror, but here tonight, with the way that the setup and the track has been, the outside line has been preferred. So Matt Watkins is going to leave a lane open. Oh, caution! Caution is out! Race is over! Matt Watkins is going to win under yellow, as I believe...
Dave Nelson.
No, I'm sorry, they're racing back. They're racing back. Apparently the caution came out after the race leader had actually hit the start-finish line.
From what I'm looking at, Seth, Dave Nelson blew up.
Saw him there. Oh, we're going to go 3 wide for second behind a winner. Matt Watkins. Oh, Bombard's going to get the wall. It's going to be Dante Ricky who's going to get second over Zach Fremont. But how about Matt Watkins in only his 5th start on the season? He is going to take his first checkered flag in the Aero 88 series.
Who? I don't recognize that name. I'm sorry.
No, just was a teammate of ours in another league. That's all.
I'm sorry. I don't recognize that name anymore.
Well, Matt Watkins is going to add his name to the list of drivers that have picked up a win here this season. And he does it here tonight at the Homestead Miami Speedway. 19 laps led. And I thought that when I saw the caution lights on, I thought the race leader had not yet hit the start-finish line, but apparently he had. They got to race it back, and that was a heck of a battle for second place with Dante Ricky, Zach Freeman, and Terry Bombard.
I want to point out real quick, Seth, that 16 drivers finished on the lead lap. Robbie Nice being the last of the lead lap drivers, 16. Andre Ray, 1 lap down. Dave Nelson, 2 laps down, who blew up and brought out the caution. I mean, look at all the retirees of unfortunate mishaps happening to them. We had Supta, we had Emery, we had McClure, we had Jeffries, we had Ron Luzier. All these guys really good, and then, you know, unfortunately how that stuff happened, but we had an exciting finish nevertheless.
Yeah, of those names that finished out of the race, you've got 4 former winners from this season. You've got a 4-time winner in Jeff Supta, and then you've also got a driver in Ron Luzier. Obviously, the championship on the line in the Charger Series, and he's going to be in the middle of that next week at Michigan. You want to have good momentum going into that race, and with him finishing out of the race here in the 26th position, you have to wonder if that's going to affect his momentum heading into the finale.
It very well could be, and if you think about it, going in the next race, someone who's really happy, I mean, even though he had damage, Frank Rivard, 12th place. He still finished very nicely. He's got to like the fact that even though with damage, he was able to hold on and get a nice finish, top 15 for that driver.
If it wasn't,
go ahead.
If it wasn't confirmed already, Robert Balcom with a 4th place run here tonight. He'll be going into Michigan knowing that at the conclusion of that race, he'll be hoisting the championship trophy.
And don't forget, Jack Dassault, he finished 15th, damaged car and all, but he still finished. And hey, he's going to be the champion for the Challenger Series too, Seth. I mean, a lot of these drivers, we didn't even talk about at the very beginning, and all of a sudden here they are. Robert Balcom starting in the back. You had Dante Ricky starting mid. I think he started mid-pack with the back as well. And then you had Watkins. Watkins wasn't even up near the front for starting. We had Bob Simonera finishing 9th. Brian Wolf 6th. Terry Bombard finishing 5th, getting that top 5 position. And let's talk about Bob LaChance. He also has that shot along with Frank Rivard next week as well. Right. I forgot to mention him too in the 51. He finishes 10th. And Kerrigan stayed out, banked on it, didn't pan out his way, but still, that is a really good finish and a well-deserved finish for that the 15 machine, getting a really good finish like he did.
And yeah, we had a number of the drivers that ran up front most of the day finish up at the front, but to give an idea of just how much of a race of attrition this was, 3 drivers did not take time in qualifying, started 27th back to 29th. All 3 of them, Balcom, Brian Wolf, and Bob LaChance, finished inside the top 10 here tonight.
Seth, we've had just about everything, almost heart-wrenching moments. I mean, I can't tell you. I mean, I'm still surprised that they made it work. I thought we were going to go 3 or 4 wide quite a few times, and they backed off of it and settled it out. But I mean, we had quite a bit of cautions, but nevertheless, it was still a really exciting end to this race. Caution came out. They raced back, and I wasn't sure if Matt was going to get it. I was actually thinking Zach Freeman was going to keep it.
Yeah, it certainly did look like Zach Freeman had one of the strongest cars of the day. He had led the most laps behind Chris Emery with 25, and Matt Watkins a close 19. But yeah, I thought if Zach was able to get himself around Sean Kerrigan quickly enough, I thought Matt Watkins was a sitting duck. But again, as we kind of said there in the closing stages, so many drivers tried to make that inside line work, but just would get so tight from the center of the corner off and just couldn't get the momentum off the corner. So Matt Watkins, all he had to do was run that middle line, take away the preferred line, and force them to try that inside.
So just to let you know, something went really squealy in your mic and you kind of got a little bit quiet. Just letting you know.
Okay.
I don't know what it was that squeaked really loud in your mic, but anyway, We were talking about the high side, low side. I mean, we saw at the beginning. We thought the low side was going to come into play because that's where everyone wanted to run. The high side wasn't worth doing nothing. They got lined up. The high side was a little bit better for a little bit. And all of a sudden, the bottom came back. That's where you want to be at. All of a sudden, the high side came back. It was just flip flopping all race long. I mean, sometimes we saw one driver making it work. Sometimes we saw it had to take 2 or 3 drivers to make it work.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's the perfect term. It flip-flopped because we saw the inside line prevail on the restarts, but then you got into a longer run. It was the outside line that was the preferred line. And of course, that could also be in terms of tire temperatures and whatnot, but certainly made for an interesting run there to the end to try and figure out which lane was going to be the preferred line.
I want to point out this is I'm sorry, but this is really interesting. Chuck McClure, we saw his misfortune a little earlier, but it says he retired due to a puncture.
Tire puncture. Must have spun those tires in pit road in his pit stall or something. I don't know, but
Well, the thing is, he blew up, and that brought the caution. He didn't bring up the caution, but when he got to his stall, he just sat there and revved his engine and went ahead and finished the job because he was already out of it. And I'm thinking, is that really what called him out like that? Puncture his tires?
what it said on my telemetry as well, tire puncture, retiring him out of the race in the
Well,
21st position.
Well, 121 laps done in the book, Seth, and really we already know the champions moving forward. The only one that we're looking at is the Charger Series next week with Frank Rivard, Bob LaChance, and Ron Luzier. See who comes out on top of that. They will be completely straight, even. No one gets an advantage. That's the highest finisher in that series. We'll find out who wins that next week. We already talked about Robert Balcom clinching the championship, and we talked about Jack DeSalle getting the Challenger Series already clinched up as well. Now there's a little bit of relaxation with Balcom. He can go out and just race and take his time and try to, pick apart everything. DeSalt, same way. He can go out there and try to win the race and try to finish as well as he can. But, still one title up for grabs for these guys in the Charger Series, and that will be decided next week in the last race of the Aero 88 Series here at RTG at Michigan.
That championship still to be decided. 2 of them already decided, and I kind of get the feeling that, the aggressiveness we saw here tonight with drivers realizing, the main championship's already taken by Robert Balcom. Let's try and see if we can finish the season with a W. We're going to Michigan next week. I think it's going to be equally as aggressive there with drivers trying to close out the season with the final trip to victory lane. Let's see if we can go down trackside and talk with some of our top 3 finishers. Let's kick things off with broadcast colleague Zach Freemow, who finished his 3rd place here tonight in his debut. Hey, Zach, it's Justin Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Yeah, I got you. How you guys doing?
Man, you almost pulled off a 1-for-1 first start of the season, almost first trip to victory lane. You had a strong car all race long, but I mean, it just kind of looked like there in the closing stages, you just couldn't find any grip down that inside line.
No, I'll tell you what. That's probably the most disappointed I've ever been with a 3rd place finish because, everybody did a great job tonight. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I really do feel like I had the fastest car out there and just couldn't pull it off there in those closing laps. Once you got out front and you set the pace for those guys behind you, everybody just kind of had to follow along and make their moves when they could. But, once Matt and Bumby were out in front of me, we were all running pretty identical pace. Every time I would try to get a run down onto the inside of the corner, they would just beat me off. So, it was all right. I'm happy, but at the same time, I'm disappointed. So, it was fun overall. So that's what's important.
I have 2 questions for you, Zach. Number 1, I saw you earlier on, and Seth eventually opened his mouth to let the whole world know it was you. But I saw you clutching. Is it really difficult to try to maintain track position while clutching, especially at a track like this in CTS physics, with everyone so determined the way they are at this track? And I mean, we had cautions left and right, but how did it? I should say, how was it from your point of view, clutching and trying to hold position?
I mean, I didn't have much issue with it. I don't know if anybody saw or not, but I actually was making passes while clutching. If you timed it just right down toward the end of the straightaway, you could kind of coast it in, or if you dove it in real hard, you kind of clutch it and get it back down to around, the apex speed that was ideal. So yeah, it actually had me a lap to the good before the yellow flag came out, because I was kind of anticipating that we might get a long green flag run to close it out, but never quite panned out that way. But it's all right. So yeah, the clutching was good. It was working. It's just yellow flags fell a different sort of way.
My second question, Zach, is we were told earlier on before the race that track position here would be very key and very important for most of the drivers up near the front. With you, it looked like you were trying to make something happen quite a few times on that high side. Were you worried at all about track position?
Yeah, I actually was really, really worried about track position. Beginning of season 51 started real strong, but the last season and a half now, I've really kind of struggled all the way around. Chuck McClure and I have suffered a lot of pit road speeding penalties that's set me way back and cost a lot of positions. And as fun and talented as everybody here is, once you get mid to the back of the pack, it kind of turns into a little bit of a hornet's nest, because everybody's running so close and the same speed. And when you're trying to make runs and make passes, it gets a little difficult. So nothing to hang our head on, though. Everybody, Matt did a great job. Matt did exactly what he needed to do to bring home the victory. And as you saw for Bumby ran real good. I hate that him and I got together coming off turn 2 there, because he probably should have finished top 2 or top 3. And I was trying real hard not to get into him, not to get into the wall. But when you were flat out on that inside line, you got that run, you couldn't get it to stick, and you needed some sort of help, and we just didn't have it.
A question I got here for you, Zach, that kind of had us a little bit perplexed. When you guys made that round of green flag pit stops, you had maybe about 10, 15 laps on your tires, depending on who came in on what lap. When that caution came out, you all came back down pit road and took on another set of tires. We know that the tire sets were limited here tonight. Was there that much difference between 10-lap old tires to fresh tires that played into you guys coming down that soon to put on a new set?
I can't speak for everybody, but I think there's a lot of guys that would agree with me. It's not so much about those 10 laps being a big difference, especially at the start of a run. But had we gotten a long green flag run, the last 10 or 15 laps of that run, if you were on those old tires and you'd have stayed out, you'd have been getting passed big time. When the tires fell off, I would say it was only about a half to a second, but it really affected your entry speed and the speed that you could carry through the corner, and which in turn consequently affected the speed that you could carry off. And as you guys saw, there was just a lot of momentum. If you ran that middle to high line, you could get a real good runoff. And it took 2 or 3 cars to the inside to be able to make a pass on somebody on the outside. So that was kind of the way to go, and it just kind of turned out the way it did.
All right, everybody get ready. We're entering the Twilight Zone, because on Thursday nights, this is normally you asking this question. But Zach, a 3rd place run here tonight. Congratulations. We're now going to let you do some thank you sponsors and shout outs.
Of course. Yeah, thanks, Seth. I appreciate it. It's nice to be able to talk to you and Jess from this side, getting interviewed after a race rather than being the interviewee. As much as I love the broadcast stuff, I'm a racer at heart, so this is what I love to be doing. Thank you and Jess for your hard work putting on the broadcast. Everybody at Flatout Racing, like I always say, every Thursday night as well. Appreciate all you guys and the work that you do. I don't really have any sponsors or anything like that. I don't have anybody. I'm a single dad, so I guess I could say hi to my daughter, but she'll probably never see this anyway, so it won't matter. But of course, got to give a big shout out to all the drivers that we have at RTG. They're exceptionally talented. Unfortunately, you guys saw a lot of yellow flag laps tonight. That's not indicative of the competition level that we have over here. And there's a lot of guys, there's half, 3/4 of this field that's capable of winning on any given night at any one of these series. So I got to thank all those guys, RTG owners, admins, race directors, all the hard work that they do. And yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you for everything you do. And hey, we got another broadcast to do tomorrow night, right?
We definitely do.
And Zach, before we let you go or anything, I want to say, well, I got a chance and I got you here because most of the time you're always AFK when I'm actually in the same room with you. I want to wish you good luck for your All-Star in the next couple of weeks that you're going to be participating in. So good luck for that.
Oh yeah, thanks, Jess. Yeah, I'll help you guys promote that right now too. April 22nd, April 29th, RTG Super Speedway All Stars race. The 22nd is the race. If you're not already locked into the big race on the 29th, so Terry asked us to promote that. So RTG Super Speedway All Star race, a few weeks from now. Thanks. Okay, bye.
That's Zach Freemouth, third place here tonight in his season 52 debut in the Aero 88 series. Congrats there, Zach. Felt so strange asking him for the sponsors, shoutouts, and everything because I'm so used to his voice saying it every Thursday night. Let's see if we can get.
Hey, and still, at the very end, he still did broadcasting.
Still
no matter
a
what.
broadcaster. How about that? Let's see if we can get second place finisher Dante Ricky.
Okay, we got Mr. No Need Interview here. So,
Well, no need third gear is who we've got here. I mean, Dante, man, I mean, we kind of wondered what happened on that restart. We saw the stack up. Obviously, Jess let us know that you had no third gear at that point. I mean, I got to wonder, after that happened, how much of you was saying, please, no more cautions. I don't want to have to deal with skipping from second to fourth on restarts.
Well, I'll tell you this, it's actually not the first time I've run a Homestead race without third gear, and it's never a good situation when you lose a gear and break part of your transmission. And I'll tell you what, my strategy was to run clean and try and pit around the 30 to go time so that I could possibly make it a one more stop, but the cautions kept coming and the restarts weren't really helping me. But as time went on, I figured out how to anticipate the green and still stay in line and race everybody into turn one cleanly and get the job done. It was a little bit discouraging though to blow third gear and know that maybe my chances of winning were probably going to be over, but that wasn't the case. I was able to come back up and get a top 5 finish.
Yeah, you mounted a great charge there in the closing stages of this race and almost made it a fight there for the win. Maybe you had a couple more laps. Might have been you sitting in victory lane. But I want to also go to a driver's mentality coming into tonight just to see if we had this projected correctly. We knew that Robert Balcom came in with a pretty sizable lead. And of course, with Jeremy Jeffries out of the race, it now looks like Balcom's going to take the championship. The Challenger Series looks like that championship is wrapped up as well. Of course, the Charger Series still needs to be determined next week, but this was an off week for them. So it seemed like everybody here tonight, with everything in place as far as the championships are concerned, everybody was eyeing Homestead here tonight as an opportunity to find victory lane before the season comes to a close. And that might have been why we saw such aggressive racing. Was that the case for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I would 100% agree with you. Homestead is one of my favorite racetracks. All versions of Homestead, the PWF version, the SPP version, every version of Homestead in this game is a favorite racetrack of mine automatically. And we've usually had very good races here. Just a lot of caution flags tonight. Not the normal for this racetrack. Normally we only have a few, but when you have a situation where everyone's going for the race win, and it was the kind of mentality that people brought to the race, and there was a lot of different strategy tonight. We saw people come to pit road and take 4 tires, come to pit road, take 2 tires near the end of the race, and also some other drivers who stayed out and saved their equipment for a long run. And just the timing of the cautions made things extremely interesting tonight in determining what move I needed to make next. And coming down to the end with about 7 laps to go, that's when I knew I needed to make a move to try and get to the front as soon as I could if I was going to have a chance to win. So it's all about being in the right place at the right time, and that's what really got me the good finish tonight.
All right, so next week we go to Michigan for the season finale. Of course, being 2 miles in length, it actually is qualified as a super speedway. Do we see the same type of mentality that we saw here tonight at Homestead? Does it taper back a little bit? What do you see looking ahead to the season finale next week?
I think it will be very similar in complexion. It's another very long race at a racetrack that we are very familiar with here at RTG and RTR for this series. So I expect things to be just as competitive with big packs of cars, 25 plus cars in the pack, all with an equal chance to make it to the front. And if you're in that top 10 position there with a few laps to go, you'll have a good chance to win that race next week. It's all going to come down to who comes out the race and who comes out to sit back. I think with the Charger Series competition there, I think that some drivers are going to be watching those 3 to give them the fairest shot at it. So we have a race going on within the series, and that's important for those 3 drivers. And I think that will get it. I'll make sure all drivers know about that ahead of time, and I think that will be the one impact for the race. But other than that, I expect it to be equally as competitive as it was tonight.
Well, Dante, it's been a great season for you overall. I know that you're still trying to find victory lane, and maybe you'll be able to get it next week. But I mean, 8 top 10 or 8 top 5s rather, and 10 top 10s coming to this race, and you tie your best finish of the season with second place here tonight. Congratulations on a great performance and a very impressive late charge there. We're going to let you do some thank you sponsors and shout outs now.
Big thank you to Terry Bauman, my series co-director, owner here at RTG, for running this RTR Aero 88 series. Terry is doing well. He's here tonight watching, and just want to make sure he gets a good shout out. I appreciate everything that he does to help me run this series and bring it to all of you drivers. And it really shows with the type of racing. And you know, the finish at the end, to have 5 drivers right on top of each other, making risky moves off of corners, coming to the line. It's just a real big testament to all of the drivers here at RTG and how good the competition really is. So I want to thank all the drivers for coming out tonight and coming out all season and making this so exciting. Good job to Matt Watkins on getting his win. I know you'll hear from him in a couple of minutes, and it's been a long time coming. Matt is an amazing driver, and congratulations, Matt. You deserve it, man. Also, big thank you to my family, my friends, brother and sister, everyone watching tonight. Really appreciate it. And of course, RTG owners David Cannon and Sean Prime for putting this on for us every single night. Your satisfaction and everything, just making everybody happy. I'm really glad I could be a part of it here at RTG, and it's good to be here tonight. Thank you, guys.
Can I get my questions in real quick?
Yeah, good.
All right, I'm sorry. Dante, real quick, I have to ask you. You got second, okay? And I've been wondering. Okay, so you race in this league, right? And we always hear about momentum and how that carries over to the next race, right?
Yes.
I know how it would go in this series, but when you have like Homestead and tomorrow night's Talladega, and then whatever races afterward within the weekend that has nothing to do with Homestead whatsoever, and different series, different mod, does that momentum continue to carry over to different series around other people that have, like, there's no relation to this series at all? Does it continue to carry over to everything, and how do you use that moving forward?
It definitely does carry over, Jessica, but it all depends on the driver and the driver's comfort level and skill level. Speedway racing is very challenging. Super speedway racing is also extremely challenging. It is difficult to win these races, both in their own regard, but there are challenges associated with each type of racing. And if you do well on Monday night, you're going to feel that much better when you go in on Tuesday night, Wednesday night, or Thursday night of that week. So, absolutely, you're going to feel a lot better if you get a good performance, whether that's a top 5 or top 10, or you name it, for what you're trying to accomplish as a driver. For me, it's more about doing the best I can and getting the best finish I can. And I know sometimes I'm not able to accomplish that. You just sometimes you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, or you have a stretch of bad luck, but you'll definitely take a stretch of good luck too. And that's what I'm finding here every night.
And the second question I have for you, Dante, is knowing you're not bound for the championship, knowing you're not involved in it whatsoever, does that make it a lot more easier and more relaxed for you to go out there and try to win? Or do you go in with the same determination, regardless whether it's a championship or not, that you're going to go out there and continue to do everything you can at the end?
I'd like to say I'm going out there next week and doing it exactly the same way as I did tonight. And being the final race of the season, we want to finish the season on a positive note and get the job done as cleanly as we can and keep the race car clean. And that's the goal of any race you come out here to run. And that's to get to the finish and keep the race car clean and, you know, do the best you can and enjoy the competition. Those are the big things that I bring to me every night that I race.
And thank you, Dante. Good job for second place. And I will see you and race with you tomorrow night.
Thanks, Jessica. See you tomorrow. See you, Seth.
Dante Ricky, second place. Let's see if we can now go down to victory lane. And in his fourth start of the season, it's Matt Watkins in victory lane. Matt, it's Justin Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Yes, sir.
All right, so we're going to get to your victory in just a moment, but I just want to ask this question because
Say it.
Because, Jess and I, we've raced with you in other leagues and everything. We know the level of competition you have. And Jess and I have had the opportunity to not only broadcast, but race with the drivers over here in RTG. It's only taken you 4 races to be able to adapt to this competition here. I mean, how have you been able to learn so quickly?
I just apply the same principles I apply everywhere. Just try to be patient and be around at the end and save tires, and that works very, very well in this league, I learned.
Now we're going to talk about your victory here. I mean, there were about 3 or 4 drivers that stayed up in the top 5 all night long. You were one of them, but it came down to that final run to the finish. It looked like, just from our perspective, that the strategy was give them the inside line if they wanted it, because you weren't going to be able to get the power down, just hold that top side. Was that the case?
Yeah, there was so much momentum on the top side. I mean, you needed like 3 or 4 cars down low really to make a good draft line to have a chance. So I figured if I could just hold the outside and not do anything too crazy, if I got the track position, I was in good shape. And luckily, once I was able to clear, I think Sean Kerrigan there, I was in very good shape once I got the lead.
How difficult was the last part, though, Matt? I mean, I have a couple of other questions real quick, but I want to know how difficult it was regarding Sean Kerrigan having older tires like he did, and you having fresher tires trying to get up there and battle. Like, what were you shocked and amazed about how hard Kerrigan was able to hold on like that?
Yeah, a little bit. Well, because we had that happen earlier. I'd stayed out on pretty old tires, and it's so hard to pass on the bottom unless you get a lot of help. So I learned earlier, that's why I stayed out quite a while to get track position. And then once I got decent tires with track position, we were looking pretty good. So I knew that I had to just drive it in really, really hard. If I could just get the slightest bit of nose on them, I'd be good, because the outside just had so much momentum. So that was the plan right at the top the whole race, and let track position work itself out.
Real quick, congratulations on your win, because that was well deserved. With you making that move at the end of that race, earlier on we saw that you got mired back in traffic, before you even got near the top 5, and you kind of fell back out again, and then had to muscle your way back. I mean, did you feel like the cautions were hurting you or helping you more?
It's hard to say. It's so unpredictable, the way these cautions were falling. So once I was in 13th, if I tried to, make a lot of moves low, probably was going to get freight trained. And you also burn up your tires a lot more staying low. So I was just going to fry my tires and not really gain anything. So I just kind of rode the top just in case we stayed green for a while.
Did it save tires?
Yep. Then I saved a bunch of tires there, and they just, hopefully at that point, green flag stops would kind of, work track position out. But once we got another caution, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna stay out for a while, make sure I get track position, and then luckily I think we got a caution like 18 to go, and that allowed pretty much all of us to get equal tires there, and then was fortunate enough to get track position, and then everything started falling in line, I guess.
All right, I got a statement to make, Matt, and then a comment. The statement is, with this win, you are now locked in to, I believe he's locked in to the All-Star race in the fall now, because they have that All-Star race Speedway version. We got the Super Speedway version in a couple of weeks, but in the fall they have a Speedway version, and with your win here, you would be locked into that. So congratulations on making it to the All-Star in the fall if you show up for that one. And second of all, the comment I want to make is, Seth and I are just wondering, why Mario? Why can't you run your Tetris car? I have to, Seth. I have to ask him. I need to know why.
You're right. So, for Aero, for this mod, I've always had 2 Nintendo cars, Mario, a blue car and a black car I always run. And I don't know. I love my Mario cars in the Aero 88 series, so I just always stuck with them. And so I was about to change after that last broadcast race. I think I broke 4th and didn't finish and had some bad luck. So I was about to bust out the blue car, but we gave it one more chance and it won.
You need to go back to Tetris. I want to see you have a lot of issues like you had in another. Yeah.
See what we can do.
Well, Matt, congratulations on your victory here tonight. Your last start, you picked up your first top 5. Here tonight, you pick up your first victories. So, congratulations on a terrific performance here tonight at Homestead. Now we're going to turn the microphone over to you, let you do some thank you sponsors and shout outs.
Yeah, I just appreciate RTG for putting all this stuff on. Way back many years ago, I raced like an interleague with RTG and the Blazing Pedals back then. And this is the first year I've actually raced with Roland RTG. And there's a lot of really good guys here. And it's been a lot of fun to race with them and look forward to doing it more this year. And yeah, it's just been a lot of fun. I appreciate you guys putting this on. I've had the pleasure of racing against both of you as teammates. And so really appreciate you guys putting it on.
That's Matt Watkins. He wins the Fun and 21 here tonight at Homestead Miami Speedway, his first win of his RTG Aero 88 Series career. Congratulations there, Matt. Go and enjoy that victory.
Thank you, sir.
And I took the opportunity here under the interviews. I know that math is not my strong suit. I clearly proved that here tonight with my miscalculation of laps. However, I still love statistics. And I went back last year to the Homestead Miami race. Ironically enough, 4 of our top 10 finishers here tonight also had top 10 finishes in last year's Homestead Miami Speedway race. So apparently a couple of drivers are very comfortable when it comes to this 1.5-mile track, no matter what version it is.
Depends on, is it the same physics though? Same mod?
I think so. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is.
Because I'm wondering if the statistics follow the other series and the other mods too.
Yeah, it's very difficult to have the statistics of Talladega in the Tally Challenge because it always changes. Tally Challenge is so unpredictable, but yeah, I'm fairly certain that it was the same mod last season that they ran here for Aero 88, so it would have been consistent. Of course, as I said, though, the track version was different. As Dante alluded to, it was the Homestead SBP last season. It was Homestead Project Wildfire from 2K3 here this evening.
Still put on a really great performance when we got all those green flag runs, and especially at the end of the race stuff. Even though the cars came out, they were racing it back. Still very exciting.
Yeah, and again, it was really interesting to kind of see how drivers had to adapt as the race went on. We saw the early issues, and I'm still trying to, in the back of my mind, work out what it was that was causing a lot of drivers to really snap around. We know the apron, touching the apron was a little bit of that, but I don't know if it was cold tires. I don't know if it was the setup. I don't know if it was the lack of grip that we saw on the inside line, especially at the end of the race, that was causing drivers to snap around. But no doubt about it, especially in the first half and maybe a little bit of the second half, it looked like a lot of these drivers were racing on edge.
It seemed like when you're talking about hitting the apron, I understand that, but we saw a couple of these drivers hit the apron or even be on the very bottom on the track, slide up due to either going in really hard or trying to make a pass or whatever the case, and then sliding up and then backing off. And when they back off, I'm wondering if when they back off and if they back off and they hit the gas, maybe the wheel spin caused them to spin out. Maybe that's a factor too.
Yeah, that definitely could be the case. I mean, we definitely saw when Zach Fremont got on the brakes behind Sean Kerrigan, that big puff of smoke. So you could be definitely right, trying to get back to the throttle after lifting, possibly just the front end bogging down, the rear end getting light, snapping that car around. But nonetheless, here tonight, we had quite a bit of carnage. A lot of drivers finished out of the race, but a lot of stuff got determined here this evening as well, with Jack DeSalt being able to still bring the car home on the lead lap. He's going to be your challenger champion. With the early departure with Jeremy Jeffries and Robert Balcom finishing up inside the top 5, he's going to be the overall champion. Next week, however, there's still one more championship to decide between Rivard, LaChance, and Lucet, yeah. They got to decide that Charger championship. So there's still something on the line next week, along with a lot of drivers still trying to finish out the season with their trip to victory lane.
And don't forget, like I mentioned to Matt earlier, there's still, if they win next week, they'll be locked into the fall All-Star race as well for the Speedway version of that. I mean, we get 2 All-Star races every season, every year. Super Speedways, March, April, and then the Speedways toward the fall. And whoever can win next week, if it's a first-time winner, they automatically get locked into the All-Star for, next in the fall. So, I mean, there's really a high stake up there, believe it or not. Even though it's the final race you want to go win, you want to win that last race and put your name up there. It's Michigan. It's going to be a wide track, fast-paced. I expect it to be providing a lot of good racing. Hey, if I'm in a good mood and I'm feeling well enough, I actually might even just jump in and race on that one.
And it's CTS physics, so the draft is going to come into play in a big way as well.
Absolutely.
Now that Speedway All-Star races, they're going to be taking place around the middle of August. Tomorrow night with the Tally Challenge, which you're going to be in, Jess, it's going to be the last opportunity for drivers to make their way into the Super Speedway All-Star race. And of course, that's going to be taking place later on this month. We got the qualifier race on April 22nd. And of course, the main event is going to take place on April 29th. And there's been a lot of announcements made about the format of qualifying in through the Open. Of course, we know to qualify your way in, you need a win in the Super Speedway Series. So it's going to be a very star-studded field when we eventually get to that main event there as well. And Jess and I are going to be on hand to bring you guys coverage of that one as well. So it's going to be a good one to see who's going to be getting that final spot when we get into tomorrow night and the following weekend, the season finale.
But a little star next to that, you're talking about the All-Star race in a couple weeks, and next, tomorrow, whoever wins that might get a chance to get it. But you're also forgetting, while we're talking about this championship here, it's going to be heating up here on FRM because coming up tomorrow, we got cars trying to make it to the Final Four for the championship over there. And you also got a lot of broadcasts coming up on FRM.
We definitely do. I mean, tomorrow night, Joe DeSpirito is already locked in. 3 more drivers will make their way into the Final Four for the finale next Thursday night. And we got, as you said, a lot of stuff that's coming up. We got Backfire Racing League. They're going to be on Friday night. We got Clutch Drop. I'm sorry, not Clutch Drop. We have... trying to remember the league that we've got on Sunday night. Can't remember the league's name. We did the Easter Bunny 100 for them this past Sunday. I'm trying to remember what the league is, but we're going to have that on Sunday night. And then, of course, we begin it all over again with a lot of broadcasts the following week, including that Tally Challenge season finale next Thursday.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm trying to pull it up here real quick, and I believe the next time I will be with you, or I believe it could be with you, would be the 16th, and that would be a Friday series for RTG, correct?
Yeah, we got the, it's the first time that the Amish Survivor Series here for RTG is going to be broadcasted. And for those that like the Wreck 'em Up leagues, yeah, that's what this is. Survivor's in the name, Survivor is the game. So that is going to be a unique one to have here on FRN.
Well, nevertheless, Seth, we had a really action-packed race, I guess you could say. We had a whole bunch of cautions, yes, early on. It sold out. Long green flag run strategy came in. We saw people pit. We saw people stay out. We saw tires. We saw just fuel only. We saw the high side work. We saw the bottom work. Realistic damage came into play. I mean, 3 wide, an exciting race to the end. Champions were crowned. And also, we got the championship next week, the end of the season for the Aero 88 mod. But hey, 121 laps are in the book. On to Michigan we go.
Absolutely. Michigan's going to be the season finale. It's got one more champion to crown and should be a good one, as Michigan always brings about great racing, and what a place to have a season finale. But as Jess said, 121 laps in the books here tonight. These drivers have to be absolutely exhausted because not only did they have to battle with a very difficult track, but they also had to battle with very difficult competition all around them. It's Matt Watkins picking up the victory here tonight in his 4th start of his RTG Aero 88 series career. Congratulations once again to him. Jess, it's been a great one here tonight. I know that we've got some more broadcasts, as you alluded to, coming up in the future, but appreciate you joining me in the booth here tonight for this one at Homestead.
Absolutely. I enjoyed very much, and I can't wait to the next one.
Thanks to everyone that tuned in tonight. We hope you guys enjoyed our coverage as you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of the Flatout Racing Network.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flatout Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flatout Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flatout Racing Network would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's